Chapter 219. At this time, Naruto remembered what Garashi said before. Garashi, Dage, did you just say that you and Kyubi are old friends? Garashi smiled. Of course, I've known Kyubi for 7 or 8 years. Naruto was surprised. Garashi, Dage, aren't you afraid of him? Garashi chuckled softly. Get to know him more, and you'll find that Kyubi is actually a proud fox. Naruto danced. But that's a bijou. Shouldn't it be described as ferocious and powerful? Asuma couldn't help but interrupt. What's so surprising about that? For Garashi, the average bijou is just like a kitten. Naruto and Yamato's mouth twitched. Kitten? What kind of wonderful description is that? Guy said with a look of admiration. A year ago, Garashi, senpai easily suppressed the Yanbi's complete body on the battlefield. Kurenai followed. In the Chunin exam, Garashi defeated the half-tailed Nibi's Jinchuriki and sealed the Nibi's complete body that was about to break out of the seal. Shizen waved her small hand and said, there's also the Hachibi's Jinchuriki. He was also defeated by Garashi and was seriously injured for 2 years. Naruto and Yamato's eyes gradually became dull. Suppressing the complete body of a bijou, defeating the half-tailed Jinchuriki, and seriously injuring Yunan's perfect Jinchuriki, is this really something that a human can do? After all, Yondim-sama Naruto sealed Kyubi at the cost of his life. Although these bijou are certainly not comparable to Kyubi, they're definitely powerful. If he can defeat and suppress them, doesn't that mean that Garashi, senpai's strength is at least on par with Yondim-sama? Even the majority of the members of the Akatsuki organization were far weaker than him. Seeing Yamato and Naruto in a daze, Asuma shrugged, then looked at Mizuki with a playful expression. Mizuki, you're too miserable in the parallel world. You've fallen to the point of being thrown into prison. However, Shuei-mu was in a trance. If I hadn't met Shushi, I might have been imprisoned for stealing the scroll of seals. I might have even been drained of my vitality and died of old age, just like in the parallel universe. Sure enough, my life changed because of Garashi. Thinking of this, Shuei-mu looked at Shueisha with a burning gaze. Seeing Mizuki ignoring him, Asuma patted Naruto's shoulder. Feeling bored, tell him, how was I doing in your world? Naruto snapped out of his daze and looked at Asuma. His lips trembled as he said, You're dead. Did you hear that? I died in that world. The smile on Asuma's face suddenly froze, and he squinted at Naruto. He suspected that this bastard was targeting him, but he had no evidence. Asuma looked at Yamato again, and Yamato nodded sadly. Senpai, you died miserably. Asuma couldn't help but be silent. Although it was a parallel world, it gave him an inexplicable sense of oppression. The old man in that world must be very sad, but fortunately, at least he has Big Brother to support him in his old age. Naruto hesitated and said, they died before you. Asuma's eyes widened. His whole family died? Wasn't he too miserable in that world? Hearing this, the fear of the unknown made him a little breathless. Garashi asked, can you tell me about my Jinchuriki in that world? Naruto thought hard for a moment, then shook his head. Never heard of it. This time, everyone couldn't believe it. How is that possible? Even in the parallel world, a person like Garashi can't be unknown. There must be something wrong. Yamato said in a deep voice, I really haven't heard of it. Maybe, seeing that Yamato didn't say anything, Garashi took the initiative to continue. Maybe the Jinchuriki in that world died a long time ago. It's not surprising that anything happens in this world. After saying that, Garashi pressed Mizuki and Asuma's shoulders and smiled freely. See, the Jinchuriki in the parallel world is even more miserable than you. The future has already changed. Don't be disturbed by this kind of thing that can't happen again. Hearing Garashi's words, Asuma smiled embarrassedly. That's right. Without Garashi, your future can't be trusted at all. This Garashi, senpai's mentality is really good. Hearing this kind of thing, he can. No, he's the first person to propose the parallel universe conjecture. He should have noticed my performance long ago. Yamato's expression became more and more shocked. So, he actually guessed his ending in our world and deliberately said it so that Asuma, senpai and Mizuki senpai would no longer be troubled. He's really a warm person like the sun. That's right. It's better not to add trouble to the people in this world. Naruto originally planned to explain the threats in the future to everyone, but after seeing this scene, he couldn't help but fall silent. It's already a different future. Saying it would only add trouble to Asuma, senpai like before. At this time, Sarah, who had been ignored, finally exploded. I say, what are you guys doing here, you strange guys? What future, what parallel universe, I've had enough. Seeing Sarah turning around to leave, Garashi reached out and stopped her. Your Majesty, please give me a minute to explain. I don't want to listen to your explanation. Sarah was about to push the people in front of her away, but after seeing Garashi's apologetic face, she hesitated. You don't look like a bad person. Then I'll give you a minute. Naruto looked at her with a confused expression, touching the face that was slapped by Sarah before. Do I look like a bad person? Asuma, who was very experienced in this, looked at him sideways. I don't know if you're a bad person or not, but look at Garashi. Do you think he's a bad person? Looking at Garashi's affinity plus 999 smile, Naruto couldn't help but say in a trance, it doesn't seem like it. While they were talking, Garashi walked out of the shadows with Sarah and approached the laughing crowd. Your Majesty, please take a closer look at these people. Your Majesty. Your Majesty. Sarah, whose little face was hot, was called a few times before she recovered, and said in a panic, Huh? What? Seeing this, Kurenai and Shizen both puffed up their cheeks. This Sarah is not a proper queen at first glance. Garashi pointed to the surrounding crowd. Go and look at their faces. Look at their faces? Although puzzled, Sarah obediently walked to the front. Then, she was frightened by the scene in front of her and took a few steps back. Ah. What's going on? How can they be puppets? On the cheerful street, the seemingly lively crowd was actually all puppets. This strange scene made her feel a little scared. Garashi said in a deep voice, this is the truth hidden under Roran's prosperous appearance. All the prosperity is deliberately put on by Minister and Lushan for you to see. The real people of this country are either hiding or caught by Lushan to work as coolies for his puppet army. Chapter 220. Hearing this, Sarah still couldn't believe it. Impossible. And Lushan is my most trusted minister. He would never do such a thing. There must be some misunderstanding. It must be. Garashi looked into her eyes. The truth won't be changed. It just depends on whether you have the courage to dig out the truth. After a moment of silence, Sarah waved her small fist. Tell me what to do. I will prove that Lushan is innocent. Garashi said calmly. Lushan is using the power of the dragon vein to create a puppet army. So, as long as we find the place closest to the dragon vein, the truth will be revealed. Sarah nodded. I understand. I'll take you there now. Before that, we have to make some preparations. Once Lushan's conspiracy is exposed, the puppet army will soon cause a disaster for the people of this country. Although Sarah was unhappy, hearing that it was for the sake of the people, she could only sulk. Then what do you think we should do? Garashi said. I need a map of Roran so that we can find the hiding people as soon as possible and guide them to take refuge. The map is in my palace. Follow me. Soon, everyone arrived at the palace under Sarah's guidance. Sarah found the map and handed it to Garashi. I'll have to trouble you to wait for a few minutes. With that, Garashi sat down cross-legged. Huh? What's this for? Naruto asked curiously. Let me put it this way. This is the prerequisite for Garashi to use a certain technique. Asuma explained. After using that technique, Garashi can sense the entire situation of Roran. Yamato gasped. The range of his perception is so wide. It didn't take long for him to enter Sage mode. After that, Garashi circled a few locations on the map. Kurenai, Shizen, take people to these places to protect the people of Roran. Kurenai solemnly took the map. I understand. Then, Garashi looked at Sarah. Your Majesty, I'll have to trouble you to take us to. At this time, Naruto suddenly raised his hand and said, Brother Garashi, can't you use this jutsu to sense the enemy's position? Garashi shook his head gently. The dragon vein chakra is too big, it has covered up his chakra. Oh. Naruto nodded thoughtfully and raised his hand. Can you take us with you? That Anlushan is probably the Baizu we're looking for. Although we transmigrated at the same time, he seems to have arrived 6 years earlier than us. Asuma frowned and looked over. Can you guys do it? It's very dangerous. Naruto argued. Don't underestimate us, we're very powerful. Garashi smiled and said, bring them along. They should be good helpers. Naruto couldn't help but cheer. Yay! Brother Garashi is the best. Garashi looked to the side. Your Majesty, please lead the way. Sarah nodded vigorously. Come with me. On the way, Naruto couldn't help but ask, Asuma, sensei, is Brother Garashi really not that kind of young senpai? Of course not, Garashi and I entered the school at the same time. Asuma's mouth twitched slightly. Also, can you not call me sensei? You look older than me. But it seems disrespectful to call you by your name. After all, in my heart, you're already dead, Asuma, sensei. Can you not mention it? Forget it, call me whatever you want. Oh. Naruto became excited again and asked, Asuma, sensei, did Brother Garashi really become a jonin at such a young age? In our world, Kakashi, sensei became a jonin at the age of 12. Kakashi is as dazzling as here. Asuma whispered, then said, although Garashi also became a jonin at the age of 12, the significance of the two is completely different. Hearing that it was related to Kakashi, Yamato couldn't help but gossip. Why do you say that? Garashi could have graduated from the ninja school very early, but in order to take care of his classmates, he deliberately delayed graduation until the last year. Asuma said, then, Garashi graduated at the age of 10, passed the Chunin exam half a year later, and became a jonin after another year and a half. From a genin to a jonin in 2 years? Asuma was shocked. Amazing, I graduated from the ninja school at the age of 12. Naruto was also surprised. Asuma squinted at him. What's the matter with this little brother? Graduated at the age of 12, is he repeating a grade? Naruto smirked and touched his head. But it seems that Gaara is more powerful. He became a Kage from a genin in 3 years. Puff. This time it was Asuma's turn to be shocked. From a genin to a Kage in 3 years? Did he pacify the shinobi world war or protect world peace? Naruto was a little dumbfounded. Did Gaara have any great achievements? Although he protected the sand crypsis from being destroyed, that's only after he became a Kage. Seeing that Naruto was speechless, Asuma spoke up for Garashi. Garashi's medical scroll saved thousands of ninjas. He defeated the AB brothers on the battlefield of Yunin, eliminated the 7 ninja swordsmen on the battlefield of Kirin, defeated the demigod Hanzo on the battlefield of Hidden Rain, and forced the Tsuchikage to stay in the village on the battlefield of Rock Crypsis. He's a hero recognized by everyone in the village. Such achievements can't even be a Kage, the Kage in your world is too cheap. Naruto and Yamato swallowed hard. They only felt that today's shock was more than the previous year. All these achievements were inhuman. When they thought of Shushi's age, they felt that they had been living like dogs all this time. Naruto looked at Garashi's back with incomparable admiration and envy, thinking to himself. Garashi's age is really amazing. A hero? I also want to be recognized as a hero by everyone. Yamato sighed. Why didn't Garashi, senpai in our world discover him? If Garashi, senpai could live to our era, the Akatsuki is not worth mentioning at all. Shocked, Yamato suddenly remembered something. Asuma, senpai, what is the medical scroll you just mentioned? It's a scroll that seals medical ninjutsu. Asuma explained. You can understand, it's equivalent to carrying a medical ninja with you. It's much more useful than blood-increasing pill. Hearing this, Yamato and Naruto's eyes lit up. There was an undercurrent surging in their world. If they had this, the casualties would be greatly reduced. Thinking of this, the two hurriedly rushed to the front and said, "Garashi, senpai, can you teach us how to make medical scrolls?" "Of course, but..." Garashi looked at them with a smile. "Do you know sealing and medical ninjutsu?" The two were instantly dumbfounded. Sakura knew medical ninjutsu, Sasai knew sealing, but the problem was that both of them stayed in their world. Chapter 221. Along the way, everyone came to the exhaust port that connected the town's entire Ryumayaku flow convergence point. "This is it." Sarah removed the well cover and pointed to the well with a serious expression. "This is the Ryumayaku convergence point. I'll go in and check the situation first." After saying that, Garashi jumped down from the well. Below, white mist filled the air, and steam rose, as if they were in a steamer, giving the feeling of a huge factory. After finding that there was no danger around, Garashi stepped on the wall of the well to inform them. Everyone descended along the direction of the steam. After jumping down 5 floors in a row, they finally saw the appearance of the base at the end. In the middle was a huge boiler, pushed by a group of slaves with shackles on their feet. The white mist that filled the surrounding space was floating and escaping from the boiler. There were also puppets, which were being produced in an assembly line around the boiler. After seeing this scene, Sarah excitedly grabbed the railing. "Why is this happening?" Everyone was really caught. Garashi said in a deep voice. "It's a pity, but this is the truth." Sarah looked at Garashi and bowed seriously. "I'm sorry, I'm too stupid. Although I'm sorry, please help me save everyone." "Don't worry, this is our purpose." Garashi smiled and bit his finger to form a seal. Summoning jutsu. The next moment, a medium-sized slug appeared behind everyone. "Slug, I'll have to trouble you to split again." "I got it." Looking at the slug, Naruto said to himself. "Isn't this the summoning beast of Sakura and Tsunade Grandma?" Asuma glanced at him. Garashi is Tsunade-sama's disciple. Tsunade Grandma's disciple. Naruto couldn't help but sigh. It's a pity that Sakura didn't come. Otherwise, I could see the senpai of this world. As he spoke, Shushi asked everyone to bring along a few small slugs. Later, I will seal off the puppet soldiers that are guarding the place. You guys take the opportunity to save the people. The people who are in poor health will be given priority to the slugs for emergency treatment. As for Queen Sarah, you will be responsible for explaining to the people." "I understand." Everyone nodded. Only Naruto was still wondering how to seal the operation. Garashi quickly formed a seal and pressed his right hand on the ground. Ice escape, ice age. With Garashi's palm as the center, a layer of ice that emitted biting cold air quickly spread out. In the blink of an eye, the entire base was sealed in ice. Only the area where the people were was still in its original state. So powerful. Yamato and Naruto were shocked by this scene. Although they had been instilled with the idea that Garashi was very powerful, they had not seen it with their own eyes. It was hard to imagine what kind of concept it was. The scene of Garashi freezing the base in an instant showed how powerful he was. As for Sarah, she was even more shocked. After all, she didn't understand the meaning of the previous conversation, but the scene in front of her was very easy to understand. Looking at Garashi, Sarah muttered to herself, "Are the ninjas of the outside world so powerful?" Seeing Naruto's shocked expression, Asuma couldn't help but tease him. Surprised? Garashi froze the sea a year ago. Froze the sea? Naruto's eyes twinkled. He couldn't help but think that if Brother Garashi was there when they captured the Sanbai, it would have been very easy. "Don't waste time, hurry up," Garashi said and took the initiative to jump toward the front of the platform. There, a fat man was roaring. "Who the hell is it? Who dares to ruin my plan?" And Lushan was furious, but suddenly, a cold light flashed. "Huh? What is that?" "Kacha." Before he could finish his words, and Lushan's body was cut in half. Garashi, holding a kunai, slowly stood up from the position behind him. Huh? He's dead? Naruto, who was rescuing the people, couldn't believe it. Wasn't this too fast? Minister and Lushan. Sarah was a little sad, but the next moment, she looked at Lushan in horror. What's going on? In her sight, Lushan, who had been cut in two, came back to life, and his body was connected by the chakra thread. Ha ha ha. Idiot, I've already transformed my body into a puppet, and where the dragon veins gather, my power is infinite. No matter how many times you break me, I can regenerate. Before he could finish, he was directly shattered by Garashi's Rasengan. But soon, the fragments were reassembled as he said. Idiot. Do you not understand human language? I said, my power in Roran is infinite. Not only that, but the frozen puppets around him also broke out of the ice and fused into his body, finally turning into a super gigantic combined body puppet beast. See? This is the power of the dragon veins. After mastering this power, I can easily destroy the 5 major countries. Yamato was in disbelief. The little guy they chased had nowhere to escape to become so strong. Hyakuga, this guy, damn it. Hearing Hyakuga say that he had the power to destroy the 5 major countries, Naruto believed it and subconsciously used the multiple shadow clone jutsu. Brother Garashi, I'll help you. Asuma hurriedly pulled him back. Don't go and cause trouble. This level of power is not worth mentioning to Garashi. Naruto scratched his head in confusion. But didn't Hyakuga say that this is the power to destroy the 5 major countries? Asuma rolled his eyes. You believe what he said? In the field, Garashi jumped up and kicked the head of the giant puppet. There was a loud boom. The platform holding the puppet collapsed instantly, and the giant puppet Lushan turned into was directly embedded in the ground. Seeing this, Naruto instinctively shivered. So scary, Brother Garashi is even more violent than Sakura. Ah. I'm angry. The giant puppet recovered and stood up from the ground with a roar. Garashi pressed the puppet's head and punched it, nailing it to the ground like a nail. Even if you're angry, lie down. Bastard. I'm going to kill. Boom. Damn it, boom. This guy's recovery ability seemed more frightening than Sasori's, but to Garashi, the threat of the two was not on the same level. A third-rate puppet master who relied on Ryumayaku chakra to infinitely increase the power of the puppet. He had no exquisite mechanism, no fierce poison, no trump card, and couldn't even control his own strength well. Such an enemy was nothing to be afraid of. If Sasori had this unlimited Ryumayaku chakra, he would have a headache. Your Majesty, Queen Sarah, watching Shushi beat up the puppet that was dozens of times bigger than him, Sala's eyes gradually glazed over. She didn't react until Shushi called her several times. I'm here. Although this guy is weak, infinite recovery is troublesome. So, please temporarily close the Ryumayaku spring. Yes, I understand. Chapter 222. Seeing Miuzu being beaten and Sarah going to turn off the Ryumayaku source, Naruto was at a loss for a while. That's it? Isn't this mission too simple? Asuma said calmly. It's mostly like this when you come out with Garashi. You'll get used to it. Naruto shook his head hesitantly. According to my previous experience, there will be twists and turns at the last moment. Asuma waved his hand. How is this possible? You think you're, boom. A beam of light from above the surface pierced through the top, and then, under Sarah's stunned and frightened gaze, it swallowed her whole. Seeing this scene, Naruto couldn't believe it and roared. Sarah! At the same time, a huge monster with wings on its back slowly flew down from the big hole on the top. Hee. Don't even think about turning off the Ryumayaku source. Hey, what's that? Wuzheng fell from the sky with a pose. When he saw the familiar energy ball coming towards him, he was so scared that he fled in a sorry state. Then, he easily dodged the attack. Huh. I've become stronger. Just when Satoshi was feeling complacent, he found that the person who jumped up to attack him and fell down was a yellow-haired kid. I was wondering why the kid suddenly became weak. However, to use the same move as him, it really makes me unhappy. Terrifying energy fluctuations gathered in Satoshi's mouth, and in the next moment, a purple-black energy ball shot towards Naruto, who had nowhere to go. Not good, Mokuton, Great Forest Jutsu. Yamato's arm stretched out many vine branches in an instant and pushed Naruto, who had no time to dodge. Seeing this scene, Asuma and the others were incomparably shocked. What? Mokuton? This silly uncle can actually use Mokuton. But after the surprise, they were a little surprised. The legendary powerful force that calms the troubled world is used to push people away? Naruto was pushed to the wall, and with the recoil, he jumped towards the monster in the air. However, this level of attack didn't have any effect on Satoshi. Satoshi just flapped his wings casually and easily dodged. You're really weak and helpless, Satoru said as he suddenly became spirited and observed Naruto seriously. There seems to be a huge amount of chakra in your body. Naruto landed on the ground again and roared furiously. Bastard who killed Sarah, I will never forgive you. At this moment, Sarah's weak voice sounded from afar. Well, I'm not dead. Naruto froze for a moment and turned his head. He saw Garashi suppressing the huge puppet with one hand and holding Sarah under his arm with the other. Huh? What's going on? Seeing that Naruto was distracted in the battle, Wu naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. While avoiding Yamato's attack, he accelerated and glided towards Naruto. What's going on with that Spacetime Jr.? Where is the basic quality of a ninja? Sighing, Asuma quickly formed hand seals, fire release, ash accumulation. The thick gray fog drifted towards Wu, mixed with sparks. It was as if a breath of air could make the flames spread rapidly. Such a large-scale attack forced Wu to have no way to hide, so he flapped his wings and flew into the sky. Let my youth ignite this flame, yo-ho! Guy stepped on the beam and jumped into the air, jumped above Wu, and then spun and kicked down. Reading Guy's action in advance, Wu dodged to the side subconsciously. However, the smoke and dust below him were stirred up by the hurricane kicked by Guy, and a huge wave of flames instantly jumped out dozens of meters high. It's a good cooperation, but it's just a flame. Wu crossed his wings in front of him and was about to blow the flame out with a gust of wind. But at this moment, a katana kept spinning and slashing towards him. If he spread his wings at this time, it seemed that he would be hit by the katana. Good timing. Wu didn't panic and even had time to comment in his heart. But it doesn't mean anything to Kami, who has already seen through everything. As he spread his wings, a light wave shot out from his mouth. The wind carried the flames and raged in the base. The katana was bounced off by the light wave and directly broke a beam. Half of the underground base collapsed, and flames and explosions were everywhere. Ah! Help! Run away! The people who were caught for hard labor cried and fled. What a tacit cooperation! Yamato saved people while admiring in his heart. But what's the matter with this monster? How can it escape like this? Everyone is amazing. Worthy of the seniors when they were young. Seeing that the seniors and enemies of this time and space came to help him, Naruto was excited. Great, let's beat it together. However, Asuma poured cold water on him. You think too much, this monster is not something we can deal with. Guy agreed. Even the two Jinchuriki of Tsuchikage and Rock Crypsis couldn't kill it. It's good that we can force it to retreat. Yamato turned his head in disbelief. The Tsuchikage and two Jinchuriki couldn't kill it, then isn't this monster invincible? Gaga laughed. Wait until I swallow this kid, then I'll swallow the Ryumayaku. That's the real. Before his voice fell, he was blasted away by Garashi's Odama Rasengan. Mizuki shouted fanatically. See? Only Garashi will never fail. Garashi fell from the air and put down Sarah, whose cheeks were still red. This place is about to collapse. Hurry up and take Queen Sarah and these people out. Also, I'll leave that puppet monster to you. Hearing that he finally didn't have to do nothing, Naruto was excited. Garashi, Dage, don't worry, we will definitely defeat that monster. At this time, Goku flapped his wings and flew up again. You bastard, don't you know it hurts? Yamato looked at the sky in surprise. What's the matter with this monster? It recovered so quickly after suffering that kind of attack. Asuma said in a deep voice. Its two most powerful characteristics are mind reading and self-healing. The former allows it to avoid most attacks, and the latter gives it a chance to start again. Goku laughed strangely. I admit that you're very strong, but a low-level creature is a low-level creature. You don't even have wings. Let's see how you can hit me. As soon as it finished speaking, it was sent flying by Shushi, who had teleported over. Ouch! Goku roared in pain and struggled to stand up. What's going on? Why do you think I wanted to see you show off before? Garashi smiled and turned the kunai in his hand. Imprinting the Flying Thunder God Jutsu means you can never escape from my sight. It turns out that Queen Sarah was saved because of the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Yamato was shocked and muttered to himself. Wait, developing Rasengan and using the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, is the name Garashi just a code name, and his real identity is actually Naruto's father? But the age doesn't seem to match. Is it because of the space-time disturbance? Thinking of this, Yamato couldn't help but ask. Who do you think is the most likely person to become the fourth generation in your space-time? Mizuki shouted fanatically, of course, it's Garashi. Ding dong. Yamato was so scared that his kunai fell to the ground. Chapter 223. Hearing Garashi's words, Satoru panicked. After sensing the condition of his body, he roared madly. Not only his wings, but more than a dozen parts of his body were marked by the Flying Thunder God. He was still thinking about whether to break his wings to survive. But now, unless he broke his whole body, it would be impossible to escape from Garashi's control. Thinking of this, Satoru angrily shot an energy cannon at Garashi. Go to hell. Your heart seems to be in a mess. It's really sad. A monster that can read people's hearts can't control his own heart. Garashi stood in place without dodging. When the energy cannon was about to swallow him, he raised his hand and opened a space-time barrier. The next moment, the energy cannon appeared directly behind Satoru. A roar sounded. Terrifying energy fluctuations swayed in all directions. Satoru was hit hard and fell to the ground. Garashi naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He teleported and grabbed Satoru's tail and beat him wildly. Seeing this, Naruto couldn't help but sweat a few drops of cold sweat. In his heart, he raised the danger level of Garashi by several levels. How is this more terrifying than Sakura? It's more terrifying than Tsunade. At this time, Lushan, who was beaten to the point of doubting his life, quickly slipped away. He jumped to the ground and quickly ran away. Fuck the destruction of the 5 major countries. He just wanted to find a place to be quiet. However, Naruto and the others wouldn't let him go. Captain Yamato, stop him. Understood. Mokuton, tree burial eternal bind. The frantically growing trees tied up the giant puppet like a dumpling. But in the next moment, a few beams of light shot out from the gaps between the vines, blooming with dazzling light and directly destroying the tree prison. Although it was very short, it was enough for them to catch up. Since you won't let me go, then die. The giant puppet roared fiercely, picked up the tower next to it, and used it as a weapon to sweep at them. So fierce. Yamato took a deep breath and began to form hand seals as fast as he could. Mokuton, tree world wall. The sea of trees rose from the ground and formed a wall in front of them. Taking advantage of the moment when the giant puppet's attack was blocked, Asuma hurriedly formed a seal and blew out flames to ignite the sea of trees. Shuei Mu, on the other hand, was standing vertically on the wall of a tall tower, blowing out a gust of wind at the raging flames in the sky. Wind escape, super breakthrough. The wind fanned the fire, and the flames quickly spread to the puppet's body. Ah! You bunch of despicable brats. The huge puppet twisted its body crazily, shooting out light beams from its mouth from time to time. You bastard, speak clearly. I'm not a little demon. No matter how you look at it, I should be a big demon. Yamato complained as he used wood release to add more fire to the puppet. Seeing this, Asma and the others couldn't help but lower their evaluation of the wood style once again. So this wood escape technique of yours is used to make fire? Big ghost. Bah, Captain Yamato, send me over. Understood. Yamato stretched out a vine from his palm, hooked Naruto's ankle, and threw him away. Look at my Odama Rasengan. At this time, Guy ran all the way over. And my wood leaf whirlwind. The huge puppet was hit in the head by Naruto's kick, and it fell down with a bang. It's a great victory with the cooperation of Senpai. Naruto cheered, but before he could be happy for long, he saw the huge puppet's shattered head heal, and it stood up again. Idiot. I already said that this kind of attack is useless against me. And Lushan laughed loudly. Unless you can be like that monster and destroy faster than I can recover, this kind of attack will be useless no matter how many times you try. Saying this, he was still a little scared. That bastard looked violent and reckless, but in fact, every attack fell on his weak points. His eyesight and experience were not something these brats could compare to. If he didn't know that a normal puppet master only had 1 or 2 puppets, and that the entire Sand Crypsis puppet army couldn't produce much stock, he would have suspected that this bastard had dismantled the Sand Crypsis puppet army to get his experience. Yamato was dumbfounded. They couldn't destroy the puppet every few seconds like Garashi-senpai. Damn, this guy looks so weak, but he's so difficult to deal with. Naruto was depressed. When he saw the huge puppet being beaten up by Garashi, he thought that this puppet monster was very weak. The only way is to temporarily close the dragon vein. Mizuki looked at Sarah, his eyes cold. Can you do it? Sarah was worried about Roran's loss, but she was caught off guard by Mizuki's cold eyes. Yes. Then hurry up, we'll stop him. Is this guy really Garashi-sama's subordinate? He's as cold as ice. Sarah complained in her heart, but she still ran in the direction of the underground courtyard. At this time, Satoshi, who was being beaten up, noticed her inner fluctuation. Dragon vein? That's right, this is my only hope. After knowing that there was no way to get rid of Garashi, Satoshi was ready to risk everything. Only by swallowing this chakra can I have the hope of defeating this little devil. However, I can't expose my thoughts for the time being. When the queen takes me to the dragon vein, it'll be my final blow. Thinking of this, Satoshi endured the pain and let Garashi rub meatballs on his body. He pretended to be crazy and rushed toward Asma and the others. Even if I can't live, I'll drag your companions to the grave with me. Unfortunately, you can't do anything. Garashi trapped Satoshi with a water prison jutsu and spat out a cold breath. The water prison instantly turned into an ice prison. Satoshi, who had just flown into the sky, turned into ice and fell back down. However, now is not the time to seal him. Although he temporarily restrained Satoshi, Garashi didn't intend to seal him. Just like in a game called Pokemon in his previous life, the Pokemon had to be beaten to a critical health point to be caught. Of course, if there was a Master Ball, like the Yin and Yang force given by Hagoromo, he could naturally seal him at any time. But if there wasn't, it was better to be patient. On the other side, the few people who were beating in Lushan were shocked by the commotion caused by Satoshi. But before they started to worry, they saw the monster turn into an ice sculpture and fell down. They suddenly felt bored. But Lushan's attention was attracted by the ice sculpture. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I have to save him. Thinking of this, Lushan ignored the siege of Naruto and the others and opened his mouth to shoot a few light beams at the ice sculpture. The ice sculpture instantly shattered, and Satoshi, who was caught off guard, was blown away by the light beams. Only then did everyone realize that there was a big hole in the ground where the ice sculpture was originally. What's going on here? And Lushan was taken aback at first, but when he saw the hole in the ground, he suddenly understood. This monster should have been able to break out of the ice long ago, but it pretended not to wake up so that it could secretly dig a hole into the courtyard? Wait, didn't I ruin his plan? And Lushan looked up and happened to meet Satoshi's fierce eyes. He suddenly shrank his head in grievance. It's all a misunderstanding. Chapter 224. Seeing that its goal had been exposed, Wu no longer tried to hide it. It swung its two massive arms at the ground, and the ground that it had dug out instantly collapsed. The underground courtyard where the dragon vein node was gathered and Sarah, who was running toward it, were all exposed to Wu's senses. Mine, it's all mine. Wu shouted crazily, and then prepared to dive down. Only the sealed home is yours. Shushi teleported to the top of its head and sent it flying with an Odama Rasengan. Boom! Wu's body plowed a long trench in the ground, and only after crashing into a tower did it stop sliding backward. Although pain surged through its body like a tide, Wu had no time to worry about it. Its attention was completely focused on the courtyard below. Damn it! It's going to be too late. Seeing that Sarah was already close to the courtyard, Wu roared. Ignoring the lesson of Garashi's long-range attacks, it fired several more energy balls. You really haven't learned your lesson. These little tricks are useless. Garashi opened a spacetime barrier and transferred all the energy balls to the flying thunder god symbol on Wu's back. Wu! Several mushroom clouds exploded on Wu's back, and blood sprayed to the ground like fountains. However, its actions had given Lushan some inspiration. Rather than have Sarah close the dragon vein, it's better to let it go completely berserk. With this thought in mind, Lushan rushed to the edge of the cave while Yamato was unprepared. Not good. Stop him. Sarah, be careful. Although they had seen through Lushan's intentions, they did not have Garashi's overwhelming strength. With Lushan running at all costs, their ninjutsu could not stop him. Several energy beams pierced through the air and shot toward the dragon vein altar. Hearing the call from above, Sarah subconsciously looked up. The dazzling violet beam of light instantly arrived, and she instinctively dropped to the ground in fright. A moment later, the beam of light blasted the altar apart. Ah! How could this be? Sarah stared blankly at this sight, not knowing what to do. In front of her, the altar was like an erupting volcano. Materialized chakra gushed out crazily. Seeing that chakra was about to devour her, Garashi teleported her away from the center. At the same time, in another space-time. What should we do? We lost Naruto and Captain Yamato. Sakura yelled frantically, and punched the wall next to her, causing it to collapse. Sasai watched silently from the side. According to Naruto's warning, it's best not to interrupt when Sakura-san is angry, otherwise, your life may be in danger. Although he didn't know if he was angry, his intuition told him that it was best not to talk. However, at this moment, the dragon vein chakra that had calmed down suddenly went berserk. Like a tide of energy, the gushing chakra tide drowned Xiaoying. Sasai drew a bird in the clouds and planned to sit on the bird to pull Xiaoying back. However, the suction force of the chakra vortex was too strong and pulled him in with the bird. Ah! What's going on? The answer is obvious, we're going to be like Naruto and the others. The rampaging dragon vein chakra filled the entire Warren, and Sata devoured the escaping chakra. It's wonderful, I didn't expect just some escaping chakra to be so delicious. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Yamato's face was full of self-blame. He was thinking about whether to tell Naruto about the father and son reunion. As a result, he was caught by Kyuzu. Guy excitedly cheered him up. Youth is fleeting, don't let your youth cry. Mizuki's voice was cold. We don't care. At worst, we'll fail the mission and retreat directly. But you, if you continue to mess around like this, be careful not to stay in our world forever. Hearing this, Yamato was alerted. Yes, Sakura and Sasai are still waiting for us. How can I let this kind of gossip occupy my mind? Thinking of this, Yamato solemnly replied. I understand, I will be more careful in the next battle. Hovering in the sky, Satu was still ecstatic. Even if it's just the chakra floating in the air, it's enough for me to replenish my energy. Ha, woodleaf brat, I'm not afraid of you anymore. Satu shouted wantonly and shot more than a dozen energy balls at the broken altar, intending to make the dragon veins rampage more thorough. Below the altar. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. Being held by Garashi's arm, Sarah said in frustration. Don't worry, it's not your fault. Garashi was comforting her when he suddenly felt a strange fluctuation of chakra around him. Then, he saw two ninjas sitting on the ink ninja beast flying out of the chakra vortex. They are Sakura, Sasai. Why are they here? Wait, does this mean that there is a fixed passage between the two worlds? Thinking of this possibility, Garashi couldn't calm down. Two worlds not only means that all the resources are divided, but it also means that he has more room for error. He didn't consider this problem before because the space-time is not fixed. Just like Miuzu and Naruto, they clearly transmigrated one after the other, but they were separated by 6 years. In a situation where the space-time is not fixed, transmigration is a very dangerous thing. For example, as soon as he transmigrates, he will encounter infinite Tsukuyomi, or Otsutsuki Kagaya will launch world extermination. Even for him, such an event is too dangerous. Therefore, he has never thought of such a dangerous idea. Now there is a possibility of operation. However, it's still too early for me to do it now. Garashi temporarily put this thought to the back of his mind and looked at Sakura and Sasai, who were in a daze. Be careful, hide behind me. Huh? Sakura and Sasai were at a loss. After hearing Garashi's convincing tone, they subconsciously drove the flying bird to Garashi's side. Looking up, they found more than a dozen energy balls emitting terrifying fluctuations shooting towards them. What a powerful chakra! Sakura was shocked. The range of this sudden attack was too large, and it was impossible to dodge it in a short time. Garashi looked at the sky calmly. This idiot, does she think that I can't deal with it because there are so many of them? Multiple shadow clone technique. Flying thunder god technique. The summoned doppelgangers jumped toward the energy balls. The moment they came into contact with the energy balls were all transferred to them. Satoshi silently looked at the dozen clones that suddenly appeared below. I got carried away, I was too careless. A terrifying energy fluctuation erupted above, stirring up a strong wind that shook the two people riding on the flying bird violently. Too powerful. Sakura stabilized her body and looked up in surprise. Isn't this the legendary flying thunder god technique of Yondim-sama? Chapter 225. This ninja, who looks about the same age as us, actually knows the flying thunder god jutsu. Sakura subconsciously looked at Garashi's side face. Also, why do I feel that he's more handsome than Sasuke? It must be an illusion. At this time, Garashi suddenly asked, are you Sakura and Sasai mentioned by Naruto? Hearing Naruto's name, the two suddenly felt refreshed. You've seen Naruto. By the way, where is this place? Simply put, this is the parallel universe of your world 20 years ago. Garashi said concisely. 20 years ago? Parallel universe? The two were dizzy. This wasn't simple at all. As for Naruto, he's up there. After that, Garashi used the flying thunder god jutsu to bring Sarah up. Although they didn't understand the situation, hearing that Naruto was up there, the two didn't hesitate and hurriedly drove the bird to follow. After the Ryumayaku's power went berserk, the battle on the ground became more and more stalemate. The giant puppet and Satori could use the Ryumayaku chakra, but Naruto and the others couldn't absorb it. Under this situation, the battle situation changed a little. The Ryumayaku began to go berserk. With Sarah's strength, she can't even get close to the Ryumayaku. That is to say, you have no possibility of closing the Ryumayaku. And Lushan laughed wildly. Insignificant insects, in front of this uncle's puppet army, so noisy. Sakura rush. There was a flash of pink light. It was Xiaoying, who had jumped off the flying bird. With a heavy punch, she had knocked down the giant puppet. It's Sakura. Cough, Sakura is too powerful. Naruto cheered. After knocking down the puppet, Sakura fell beside Naruto. Naruto, what's going on? I don't know how to say it, but in short. Naruto and Guy looked at each other and smiled, giving each other a thumbs up. It feels good to fight side by side with Senpai when we were young. Sakura followed Naruto's gaze and was shocked. Thick eyebrows sensei, Asuma sensei, and Mizuki sensei. Mizuki looked at her with a cold face. Don't talk nonsense, that guy is going to get up again. Get up. Sakura was confused, and then she saw the giant puppet she knocked down stand up again. Bastard. How dare you lie to me? And Lushan was infuriated. If not for the fact that this man's attack was so similar to that little ghost's, he wouldn't have been so frightened. Die. Naruto explained while dodging the puppet's attack. This puppet can regenerate indefinitely. What? Unlimited regeneration? Xiaoying said in shock. You're fighting such a monster? Actually, this monster is already relatively weak. When Garashi Dage fought with it, the speed of destruction was faster than the speed of its regeneration. Naruto said half shyly and half admiringly. Brother Garashi? Is that the handsome ninja who used Flying Thunder God to divert the attack? Xiaoying was secretly shocked. I didn't expect his attack to be so powerful. Brother Garashi is super powerful. Naruto nodded heavily and added, by the way, he's also Tsunade Grandma's disciple. Huh. But I've never heard of him. At this time, Xiaoying finally understood the meaning of Garashi's words. Parallel universe? On the other side, after Garashi put Sarah down, he once again faced Satoshi after his self-healing. You are indeed very powerful. Even in my long life, there are few people stronger than you. But in the end, you can't get rid of the limitations of species. Your fragile human body can't bear the power of nature. In this case, you can't win against me who can absorb Ryumayaku chakra. Satoshi said. Why don't you merge with the darkness and let me transform you into, however, Garashi smiled gently. Sorry, I can also use Ryumayaku chakra. Ryumayaku chakra was equivalent to refining Senjutsu chakra, which meant that using Ryumayaku chakra could save him the refining process. After saying that, Garashi directly entered the complete form of Sage mode. Satoshi was so shocked that his jaw almost fell to the ground. He wanted to say, how can you, a human? But when the words came to his mouth, he was confused. Is this Woodleaf Brat really a human? Feeling the endless power in his body, Garashi couldn't help but sigh. Since I learned Sage mode, this is the first time I have such abundant Senjutsu chakra. Finally, I can fight with all my might. A person who had to be careful with every dollar suddenly received a huge sum of trillions of dollars. He always had some extravagant thoughts. Senjutsu, tenfold Super Jade Rasengan. Looking at the small sun held by Garashi, Satoshi suddenly had the urge to swear. But before he could turn his impulse into action, Garashi teleported behind him and threw a nuclear bomb. Boom! The wind, which was comparable to a Category 12 typhoon, wreaked havoc in the town. The tall towers that stood on the ground were like toys piled up by building blocks. When the wind blew, they were easily broken and sent flying. The people fleeing from Lushan's attack were caught off guard and sent flying by the shockwave. As for the giant puppet, it was left with countless wounds. Even this can affect me? And Lushan was confused. Cough cough. Xiaoying, who had crawled out of the ruins covered in dust, looked at the tall figure standing in the storm in shock. This kind of attack power is too much. Even a tailed beast can't do this. Thinking of this, a discordant thought arose in her mind. Did Tsunade-sensei leave something behind for me? This is too exaggerated. Is this still a ninja? Yamato's mouth twitched. He finally understood why the seniors said that tailed beasts were no different from kittens in front of Garashi. Even Garashi sighed. Under normal circumstances, the amount of senjutsu chakra I refined in one go isn't enough. However, it was indeed very satisfying. Satoshi's body was a bloody mess, and his eyes were spinning. He had clearly been struck dumb by this wave of attacks. What do I feel? After the dragon vein went berserk, his strength improved even more than mine. Just as Satoshi was doubting his fate, he suddenly realized that Garashi had raised another son. Again? Wait, I admit. Boom! With a thunderous boom, another shockwave swept over. The ravaged earth was baptized by the flames of war once more, as if it was the end of the world. A massive crater with a diameter of more than 100 meters appeared in the center. Satoshi, who had lost a wing, lay in the crater, his life or death unknown. Even so, Garashi did not let down his guard. Senjutsu, ice release, ice coffin. After sealing Satoshi's body in the ice chest, Garashi took out a scroll and sealed it. Chapter 226. The sight of Garashi defeating Wu so easily left them rather confused. If they had known that it would be so easy, they would have detonated the dragon vein. But when they saw the once prosperous Lu Lan reduced to a wretched post-war ruin, they could not bring themselves to think about it. The price of defeating Wu so quickly was far too heavy. While everyone was distracted by Wu, the rear door of the giant puppet opened, and a small puppet slipped out. But before this small puppet could take more than a few steps, Garashi threw a stream of cold energy at it and froze it. Seeing Garashi's actions, the others finally understood what was going on. That scoundrel Baizu was trying to escape. Fortunately, Big Brother Garashi noticed what he was doing. Garashi couldn't help but chuckle. If he hadn't left the puppet armor, would have had to use some other methods to defeat him. This is good. At least we won't have to suffer more losses. The others nodded in agreement as they looked at the wretched state around them. Indeed, if Garashi had attacked a few more times, Lu Lan would have been more or less finished. In short, this can be considered a happy ending. That's right. After a bitter battle. It should be considered a bitter battle, right? This matter is not over yet. Garashi shook his head and began to walk toward the distant refuge of the Lu Lan people. When Sarah and the other laborers saw Shushi walking toward them, they excitedly went up to greet him. Lord Garashi, thank you so much. You are our savior. Although Garashi's battle with the enemy had destroyed a small portion of Lu Lan, they did not care, because that prosperity had always been fake. The only thing that truly belonged to them was the dark life of slave labor in the prison. Garashi had helped them destroy this nightmare, and they could not thank him enough. Of course, this did not mean that everyone's interests had not been harmed. As the queen, Sala's losses had been rather severe. But she had always felt guilty about being deceived by Enlushan, so she naturally wouldn't blame Shushi. Hence, when she saw Garashi walking towards her, Sarah bowed solemnly and thanked him. Thank you so much. Lu Lan will definitely, it's still too early to say that. The crisis hasn't been resolved yet. Garashi said with a solemn expression. There's still danger? Sarah was a little flustered. Garashi pondered and said, the dragon vein is too active now. If we don't take action, it may maintain this state for a long time in the future. And this lively chakra is as tempting to ambitious schemers like Enlushan or monsters like Wu as blood is to sharks. Sarah and the people panicked when they heard that they might continue to attract ambitious people and monsters. They did not want to repeat today's nightmare. Then what should we do? Lord Garashi, please save us. Garashi looked at Sarah with a determined gaze. The only way is to completely shut down the dragon vein. Completely shut down the dragon vein? Sala was somewhat hesitant. Lu Lan's prosperity had been built on the dragon vein. But today's events had given her too much of a shock. Whether it was Enrich imprisoning the people to create puppets or a massive monster suddenly seizing the dragon vein, she had understood one principle. Wealth beyond one's ability would only bring disaster. Without enough strength, the dragon vein was not wealth. On the contrary, it was the source of a nightmare that brought disaster to them. With this thought in mind, Sala firmly said, "I'll listen to you." Hearing Sarah's decision, the refugees behind her did not show any dissatisfaction. Instead, they heaved a long sigh of relief. At the start, they had enjoyed the convenience of the dragon vein, but after years of hard labor, they had not only hated Enrich, but also the dragon vein that had brought them so much suffering. And when they saw that massive monster and realized that Enrich was not the only villain coveting the dragon vein, their resistance to the dragon vein reached an extreme. It was best to shut down this harmful thing as soon as possible. In the future, they would have to rely on their own hands to create wealth. But how do we do it? Sala hesitated. The chakra of the dragon vein is currently rampaging. I can't even get close. If you trust me, please teach me how to control the dragon vein. While shutting down the dragon vein, let me place a seal on it. Garashi said with a sincere gaze. This way, in the future, anyone who wants to take the dragon vein will have to undo my seal first. You're the hero who saved Lulan. Of course I trust you. Sala bit her lip. But isn't this too dangerous? If we're not careful, we might be transported to another space-time dimension. Don't worry. I've been surrounded by enemies countless times. Even the strongest ninjas couldn't kill me. What's a place with space-time fluctuations? Shushi smiled. Don't worry. I've been through countless dangerous situations. Even the strongest ninjas couldn't kill me. What a reliable man. Hearing the strong confidence in Garashi's words, Sala couldn't help but compare him to Enrich, whom she used to worship. Then, she realized that the two of them couldn't be compared at all. One was the liar who deceived her, ugly and weak. The other was the hero who saved Lulan, handsome and strong. Alright, follow me. Walking to a quiet and remote corner, Sala taught Garashi how to control the dragon vein. It wasn't difficult. Even an ordinary person like Sala could do it, so naturally, it wasn't difficult for Garashi. But it wasn't easy either. Other than the technique, there was also the contract between the Queen of Lulan's bloodline and the dragon vein. Seeing Garashi frowning, Sala took off the pendant on her chest carefully. Then, she looked away and handed the pendant over with a guilty conscience. Use this to summon the dragon vein. As a reward for saving Lulan, I'll give this to you. Garashi was slightly taken aback, but he accepted it with a smile. Thank you. I'll seal the dragon vein as soon as possible. With that, he walked out under Sala's reluctant gaze. At this moment, in the central area, Naruto was exaggeratedly describing the news he had heard before to Sakura Sakai. When Garashi walked over, Sakura looked at him with admiration. Wow! Senior brother, you're so amazing. Compared to you, I'm so bad. Suppressing the bijou, calming the war, healing the divine hand, would leaf hero, these weren't achievements that a human should have. Hearing this, she was ashamed. They were both Tsunade-sensei's disciples, but why was the gap between them so big? She even felt a little lucky. Fortunately, she wasn't from this time and space. Otherwise, with senior brother as a comparison, she wouldn't even be a defective product. Garashi smiled gently. Don't belittle yourself. I heard from Naruto that you've only been sensei's disciple for 3 years, right? I learned a few more years than you to reach this level. As long as you work hard, I believe you can do better than me. Chapter 227. Senpai is so gentle. Thinking of Tsunade-sensei's usual strictness, Sakura's mind rebelled again. If only we had senpai in our universe, then I wouldn't have to worry about being scolded when I ask senpai questions. That's right. Naruto clapped his hands and looked at Garashi eagerly. Garashi, Dage, we now have people who know medical ninjutsu and sealing techniques. Can you teach us how to make medical scrolls? Of course, but... Garashi smiled and nodded slightly, and then his face suddenly became dignified. Before that, there's a problem that needs to be figured out first. Huh? What's the problem? Naruto wondered. Garashi looked at Sakura and asked, how long has it been since Naruto and the others disappeared and you were involved in this? Sakura's index finger gently tapped her chin. It should be a few seconds. In short, it's very short. Hearing her say this, Naruto waved his hands in disbelief. How is that possible? Captain Yamato and I have been here for a long time. Sakura directly showed her fist. Huh? Do you think I can't even tell the time? Naruto was scared in a second. Haha. How could it be? I just feel a little strange. There is a problem with the flow of time, but it's the opposite of what I hoped. Garashi sighed secretly. If a few seconds here is equivalent to a day in the original universe, then he will go to Naruto's side and stay there for 100 years until he becomes invincible. Seeing the two's doubts, Garashi smiled and explained. It's because of the flow of time. Half a day has passed here, but only a few seconds have passed in your universe. That's good. With this difference in the flow of time, even if you learn from me for a few days, it won't affect your universe too much when you go back. Hearing Garashi's words, Xiao Ying and the others looked at Garashi with admiration. They thought to themselves that Senior Garashi was really too reliable. He was clearly the one who was being freeloaded, but he had even considered such details for them. With that, Garashi turned to look at Asuma and the others. You guys go back and report to Lord Naruto about Wu. I'll stay here for a few days and teach them this technique before going back. Asuma frowned. You're the commander of the Allied Army. Is it really okay for you to stay here alone? Garashi smiled and said, don't worry, Wu has been dealt with by me. Next, with or without me, there won't be much difference. With Inoki's character, he should give up his final fantasy unconditionally. Naruto couldn't help but interrupt. Wait, what's the commander-in-chief of the Allied forces? Mizuki explained enthusiastically, we are currently in the midst of a great ninja war, and Garashi is the commander of Woodleaf and Sand Crypsis' allied forces. The commander of the two major ninja villages? Yamato's eyes almost popped out. Although he had been shocked many times, he still couldn't help but feel a lack of oxygen in his brain when he heard this news. You know, this kind of thing can no longer be explained by strength alone, especially the involvement of Sand Crypsis, which made him even more confused. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but ask, Sand Crypsis agreed to this kind of thing? Asuma smiled and said, you don't know this, but this proposal was originally proposed by Sand Crypsis. Yamato was dumbfounded. Is this space-time so harmonious? You are not from our world. Of course, you don't understand what Shushi means to this world. Shushi has never failed before. Shuei-mu explained in a tone that sounded like he was trying to pull people into his religion. Never failed? Sakura's tone was exaggerated. Is this world senpai so cruel? Hearing this, Yamato couldn't help but think secretly, our world is already surging with undercurrents, and a war with the Akatsuki may break out at any time. If Garashi-san was here, we wouldn't have to worry about the choice of the commander, but unfortunately, well, let's not talk about these things anymore. Let's get back to the topic. Garashi pondered, it's best not to talk about the parallel spacetime. If someone asks, just say that I've damaged Lulan too much, and I'm staying here to participate in the post-war reconstruction. Hearing that he was going to rebuild Lulan, Yamato suddenly became energetic. Garashi-san, leave this task to me. Several people looked at him doubtfully. Leave it to you? Yamato nodded heavily. He was already blaming himself for the loss of Lulan because of his previous absent-mindedness, and now he could finally make up for it a little. Mokuton, Renju clan. Yamato pressed the hand seals on the ground, and more than a dozen wooden houses instantly rose from the ruins. Not only the external outline, but even the internal structure was very delicate. Seeing this scene, the refugees in the distance were stunned. Amazing, this is simply a miracle. I really want to learn this ninjutsu. If I can learn it, I can make money by selling houses in the future. Asma and the others' mouths twitched wildly. Is Mokutan used to build houses? Although it's very appropriate, they always felt that something was wrong. They couldn't help but think that Mokutan was the power of Shodame-sama to pacify the warring states. Is his way of pacifying the troubled world by building a house for everyone? 2 days later. Not only Sakura, but even Sasai looked at Garashi with eyes full of worship and admiration. The more they learned, the more they realized the profoundness of Shodame-sama. His level of medical ninjutsu and fuinjutsu is much higher than them. It's just a split C-class ninjutsu, and they learned it for 2 days. It's hard to imagine how difficult it was to develop the original ninjutsu. Naruto was also excited. Garashi Dage taught him a lot of new ways to use Rasengan in the past 2 days, making him feel that he has taken a big step forward on the road of making Rasengan. But it's still not enough to defeat Pain, who killed horny Sennin. Naruto took a deep breath and asked, Garashi Dage, is there a way to make me stronger quickly? Sakura looked at him with some worry. Naruto, I understand your determination to become stronger quickly, but this kind of thing is simply impossible. Yamato also nodded seriously. The practice of ninja has never been done overnight. If you want to become stronger, you can only take it step by step. Garashi-sama has helped us a lot. It's better not to embarrass him. Naruto was a little depressed, I know. Garashi smiled. Who said there is no way to become stronger quickly? Not only there is, but there is more than one. Huh? Really? Sakura was surprised. Senpai, the method you're talking about isn't one of those extremely dangerous forbidden jutsu, right? Yamato was worried. If you want to become stronger quickly, you naturally have to take some risks, but it's not extremely dangerous. Garashi explained. Naruto couldn't wait to ask, Garashi Dage, please tell me, I can do it. Chapter 228. The simplest and least dangerous way is to learn a powerful S-class ninjutsu. Garashi analyzed. Most people can only use S-class ninjutsu as a trump card. But Naruto is different. His chakra capacity shocked even me. After learning a powerful ninjutsu, you can turn it into your own strength as soon as possible. Listening to Garashi's words, the four were dumbfounded. The simplest way is to learn S-class ninjutsu? Senpai, do you have some misunderstanding about the definition of simple? Yamato smiled awkwardly. Garashi, senpai, isn't that too difficult? Even many jonins don't know esoteric ninjutsu. If you define yourself as an ordinary person from the beginning, then there's no need to think about becoming stronger as soon as possible. Because this isn't something ordinary people can do. Garashi said in a deep voice. From Naruto's eagerness, you should have a very powerful enemy to face, right? Yamato nodded worriedly. Even Jiraiya-sama was killed. Such an enemy is simply too powerful. If you want to create a miracle, you have to believe in miracles first. Garashi's serious eyes swept over the four. If you deny yourself from the beginning, then leave the hero to others. Naruto waved his arm excitedly. Garashi, Dage, I can do it. Very good. That's the confidence you need. Garashi nodded approvingly. The next step is to choose your field. Everyone has their own field of expertise. Choosing the right one is the first step to success. Hearing this, Naruto woke up. Isn't his talent Shadow Clone Jutsu and Jutsu? Shadow Clone Jutsu is used to speed up the practice, and Rasengan is used to develop further. I understand. Futon, Rasen Shuriken. If I can increase the completion of Rasen Shuriken to 100%, my first S-class ninjutsu will be a success. Seeing Naruto so excited, Yamato quickly poured cold water on him. Don't forget, that jutsu was listed as a forbidden jutsu by Tsunade-sama. Garashi asked with interest. Oh. Was it listed as a forbidden technique by the teachers of that world? Naruto touched his head embarrassedly. I added futon chakra to the Rasengan, but because the completion level wasn't high enough, I couldn't throw it as I planned, and close combat would seriously injure my arm, so it was listed as a forbidden jutsu by Tsunade. It's not easy to add a property change to a Rasengan that has reached the pinnacle of shape change, Garashi muttered. Demonstrate it to me first. Isn't it too dangerous? Yamato asked worriedly. As long as the scale is controlled, there won't be a problem, Garashi comforted. Besides, I'm here. Yamato thought about it. When they fought Kakuzu, Naruto used the new jutsu 3 times in a row. Now, it shouldn't be a big problem to demonstrate it on a controlled scale. Seeing that Yamato no longer stopped him, Naruto summoned 2 shadow clones and said eagerly. Then I'll start. In the next moment, a powerful chakra condensed in Naruto's hand. The Rasengan in the form of a shuriken rotated at an extremely fast speed with a harsh sound. The surrounding airflow was disturbed, forming a small whirlwind. At this time, Garashi suddenly said, Naruto, don't resist. After that, a white light rushed into Naruto's body. Sakura was a little confused. Did something just fly into Naruto's body? Yamato was shocked. It's spirit transformation jutsu. In our world, only Kata's senpai learned this S-class ninjutsu. This is the 3rd one, right? Sakura murmured to herself. The Flying Thunder God Jutsu, the Sunlight Jutsu, Spirit Transformation Jutsu, senpai has shown 3 S-class ninjutsu. She finally understood why Garashi senpai said the easiest way is to learn an S-class ninjutsu. For a genius like senpai, learning an S-class ninjutsu is as simple as eating and drinking. At this time, Garashi, who occupied Naruto's body, began to freeload. As the king of freeloading, he has always avoided developing his own ninjutsu. Isn't it better to use this time to innovate? Just like wood release, it only took him a few months to develop it, but ice release, it took him more than a year to develop it from scratch. Moreover, don't think that it's easy to evolve from Rasengan to wind release Rasen Shuriken. According to Kakashi, even Namikaze Minato couldn't do it. Although Rasen Shuriken takes a long time to charge, it consumes a lot of chakra, and it's not compatible with the Flying Thunder God. It's enough to show the difficulty of developing it. To be precise, this kind of thing depends on talent and talent. Naruto's Rasengan is full of talent. For Garashi, his talent lies in learning and innovation, not only learning from others, but also innovating on the basis of predecessors. In a sense, his revision is even stronger than the original. Of course, to achieve this, he first needs the selfless dedication of many tools. It's precisely because he uses many tools to exert his talent to the extreme that he can have this kind of strength at this age. Especially after learning spiritualization, his learning efficiency has greatly improved, evolving from a simple language teaching to a VR experience. At this moment, Garashi was analyzing all the mysteries of Rasen Shuriken from Naruto's perspective. Proportion, coordination, variation, convergence. Well, I almost understand. As the founder of Rasengan, who has been making Rasengan for 7 or 8 years, and even longer than Naruto, after understanding the general process, this S-class ninjutsu was naturally no longer a secret in Garashi's eyes. Then, Naruto pushed the shuriken towards Garashi. At the moment when the shuriken erupted, Garashi shifted his attack. Boom! At the same time, a strong shock wave broke out in the distance, and a part of Garashi's soul returned to his body. Huh! My right hand is fine. Naruto excitedly touched his right hand. Garashi smiled. After all, I asked you to demonstrate, and I don't want you to get hurt. Spiritualization can be used like this? On the side, Yamato was dumbfounded. If Kata's senpai could also split his soul into 2, he wouldn't have been killed while using this jutsu. I just made a little improvement on the spiritualization jutsu. Garashi gestured with his fingers. Just as Yamato was about to complain about the finger shinobi world, his eyes suddenly widened, and he looked like a salted fish without oxygen. He looked at the mini raisin shuriken that appeared between Rinshuriken's 2 fingers and stammered, this is? As the instructor who accompanied Naruto in his special training, Yamato naturally knew how much effort Naruto put in to finally complete this jutsu. But Naruto only took a few breaths to master this ability. His talent is terrifying. He couldn't help but think that compared to Kakashi-senpai, Garashi-senpai is the real copy ninja. The S-class ninjutsu developed by Naruto was actually learned so quickly. Sakura subconsciously opened her mouth wide. Garashi-senpai was already an unimaginable genius. At the age of 12, he was able to develop an ultimate ninjutsu. But compared to Garashi-senpai, he seemed to be more than one level behind. Don't be surprised. My talent lies in learning. Compared to Naruto, I'm actually not good at developing new jutsu. Garashi said modestly. Yamato's mouth twitched slightly. I don't believe you. If senpai didn't use ice release, I might have believed you. Chapter 229. The density is extremely high, the rotation is extremely fast, and the cutting property of the wind attribute chakra is added. If you're not careful, the raisin shuriken may dissipate. Looking at the mini shuriken between his 2 fingers, Garashi looked dignified. In this case, it's really difficult to throw the shuriken. Naruto bowed his head in frustration. Even Garashi, Dage, you can't do it? Garashi smiled. I just said it's difficult. When did I say there's no way? Hearing this, Naruto hurriedly urged. Then tell me quickly. The most direct but also the most troublesome way is to improve the control of chakra. As long as you can completely control the 2 changes, in theory, you can throw it. Garashi pondered. Huh? Chakra control? Naruto withered as soon as he heard this. This is exactly what he's not good at. Don't worry, there are 2 other ways. Garashi smiled and dissipated the mini raisin shuriken. It just so happens that I'm going to mention 2 other ways to make you stronger quickly. Not only can I learn Naruto's ability in an instant, but I can also improve it in such a short time. Garashi, senpai is really... Yamato felt that his vocabulary was insufficient and didn't know what to say. The second way is the Kyubi chakra mode. Kyubi. Chakra mode? Naruto looked down at his stomach. I've fought with Jinchuriki many times, and I'm familiar with the Bija chakra mode. Garashi crossed his arms. Under normal circumstances, the Jinchuriki and the Biju in the body compete for chakra, which will greatly reduce the control of chakra. But if you can reach a settlement with the Biju in the body, not only can you free yourself, but you can also use the Biju to help control it, just like Naruto, you used the shadow clone to help create the raisin shuriken. In addition to the help of the wind raisin shuriken, the Bija chakra mode is also very powerful. It has strong self-healing, fast speed, and high explosive power. Presumably, you all should have experienced the horror of Naruto in that mode, right? Hearing this, the few of them nodded with lingering fear. During the Battle of Tengen Bridge, Naruto in that state was simply terrifying. Really? Naruto hesitated. That guy is very bad. It is indeed a little troublesome. After all, the 9-tailed beast in your body has been imprisoned for 20 years longer than the one I know. But... Garashi said and patted Naruto on the shoulder. Listen more, communicate more. I believe you can do it, Naruto. Listen and communicate. Naruto touched his belly and whispered. Seeing that Naruto was about to have a bold idea, Yamato hurriedly said, Garashi-sama, what about the third method? As expected, Naruto's attention was diverted, and he looked at him curiously. The third method can be said to be the most difficult one. It has an extremely high requirement for one's aptitude, Garashi said solemnly. You should still remember the move that I comprehended when I knocked him down, right? Very strong. It was rare for Sa Jing to interject. Don't tell me you're going to teach me that move? Naruto's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he almost flew away. That's the senjutsu I used when I was in Sage Mode. As long as you can learn Sage Mode, you can naturally reach my level. Garashi explained. Sage mode? Yamato's expression changed. Is it Jiraiya-sama's ability that shocked the shinobi world? Naruto clenched his hands. Is it lascivious sage's ability? Although it's the same sage mode, there are subtle differences. Garashi explained. Jiraiya-sama's senjutsu comes from Mount Myaboku, while my senjutsu comes from Shikatsu Forest. Mount Myaboku? Isn't that the place where Bunta Onie-sama lives? But where is Shikatsu Forest? Naruto was surprised. It's the place where Luzu-sama lives. Sakura said helplessly. Nature's 3 holy lands for senjutsu are the 3 summoned beasts corresponding to Luzu-sama, Toad, and Snake. Garashi looked at Naruto with a smile. Congratulations, Naruto. You've passed the most basic level of senjutsu inheritance. Inheritance? A disciple should inherit sensei's will. Naruto exhaled heavily. No matter how difficult this sage mode is, I will definitely learn it. It's not only difficult, it's also dangerous. Garashi warned in a serious voice. I put this last because it's extremely dangerous. As long as there's a slight deviation, your whole body will be eroded by natural chakra and finally petrified to death. Hearing Garashi's stern words, Naruto's forehead couldn't help but sweat, but the look in his eyes didn't change at all. Sakura was a little scared. Naruto, you should use the second method. Although it's also dangerous, at least you have experience. Naruto was silent for a moment, then he made a shocking sound. No, I want all of them. Huh? What? The power of my Yanbi can't even defeat Orochimaru, who can't make hand seals, and Pain killed Horny Sage, who can transform into Sage. So if I want to defeat Pain, I have to master both of these powers at the same time. Yamato frowned. It's too reckless. You can't even master the power of Kyuubi now. I know, but I have to do it. Naruto's eyes were very firm. As Garashi Dage said, people who think they can't succeed from the beginning can't create miracles. Garashi clapped his hands gently. I'm now more and more convinced that Naruto has the qualifications to become a sage. Really? Naruto said excitedly. Garashi nodded slowly. Putting aside the difficulty and danger of becoming a sage, there are 2 conditions to become a sage. One is a huge chakra, and the other is a strong perseverance that never gives up. Hearing this, Yamato and the other 2 looked at Naruto in shock. Needless to say, chakra, Senpai Kakashi personally certified it as 100 calories. As for perseverance, although Naruto's persistence sometimes seems silly, they have to admit that Naruto's perseverance is stronger than most people. I didn't expect Naruto to have this kind of talent. While shocked, Sakura couldn't help but feel happy for Naruto. This child may really have the possibility to surpass Jiraiya-sama. Yamato sighed in his heart and no longer stopped him. Naruto laughed with his hands on his waist. Wahahaha. It turns out that I'm also a genius. Naruto, I can't help you much with Kyuubi chakra mode, but I can let you experience Sage mode in advance. Garashi smiled and pointed his index finger at Naruto's eyebrows. Lend me your body again. Naruto naturally wouldn't refuse and said casually. Garashi Dage, take it. Chapter 230. Garashi didn't hesitate and directly used spirit transformation jutsu to enter Naruto's body. Use your body to remember what I'm doing now. Naruto sat cross-legged and said in a calm voice. Naruto was observing himself from a bystander's point of view. He found it novel and interesting, but when he heard Garashi's words, he quickly followed. Something strange seems to have entered my body. That's natural chakra. Senjutsu chakra is more powerful than ordinary chakra because it's no longer a combination of physical and spiritual energy. Instead, it's a combination of natural energy in an absolutely balanced state. I seem to understand, but there's something I don't understand. While Naruto was thinking hard, Garashi successfully controlled Naruto's body to enter Sage mode. In Sage Mode, Garashi found some information that was ignored when he entered Naruto's body last time. This hidden chakra is Azura. As the reincarnation of chakra of Azura, the son of Rikudo Sennin, or rather, possessed, Naruto didn't show too many powerful characteristics. Chakra was mostly because of the Uzumaki bloodline. Sage Mode was the result of his own strong perseverance combined with the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Except for the gift from Rikudo Sennin, this identity didn't actually help Naruto much. After all, he's just the reincarnation of chakra, not the reincarnation of his soul. However, this doesn't mean that this discovery has no significance. What Garashi valued was the spiritual will attached to chakra, the strong will that still fights even after thousands of years of reincarnation. Hashirama can materialize momentum. The spiritual will attached to the reincarnation of Azura chakra should be even stronger. For me at this stage, comprehending their will can be a big improvement. Garashi carefully felt Azura's spiritual will, imagining a wave of Haoshiku Haki in the next war. After absorbing natural energy, Garashi calmed his mind and controlled Naruto's body to stand up. In Sage Mode, my ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu will be greatly improved. Before, I needed to concentrate to use the Raisin Shuriken, but now I can easily use it. That is to say, Naruto raised the Raisin Shuriken with his right hand and threw it into the sky. In this mode, you don't need to control chakra to complete your new jutsu. Moreover, immortal arts that have been infused with natural energy are far more powerful than the original. Boom! The shuriken that was thrown out rapidly expanded in the sky, and circles of air rippled, stirring up a violent hurricane that blew in all directions. It took a full half a minute before it stopped. So this is Sage Mode? As expected, it's terrifyingly strong. While Yamato was shocked, he couldn't help but feel a little depressed. When did his wood release become so strong? It's amazing. It's obviously Naruto's own body, but it's even stronger under senior brother's control. Sakura secretly admired. After the demonstration, Garashi's soul returned to his body. Naruto, how was it? Naruto was excited. It's too strong. It's worthy of Sage Mode. Garashi smiled helplessly. I'm asking about your perception. The smile on Naruto's face suddenly froze. I don't feel anything. Sakura grabbed his shoulder and shook it. Senior brother kindly demonstrated it to you, but you were distracted. Naruto felt wronged. I'm learning it with all my heart. But it's really difficult. I'm too demanding. Garashi shook his head. You don't have to worry. Mount Mayaboku has a complete teaching method of senjutsu. They'll teach you how to perceive natural energy. As for today's demonstration, it will allow you to naturally cultivate Sage Mode after perceiving natural energy. Seeing Garashi thinking so much for him, Naruto couldn't help but nod. I understand. I won't let you down, brother Garashi. Shushi nodded, then said with a smile, I have nothing else to teach you. Go back to the world that belongs to you. Sakura and Naruto were a little reluctant. Although it was only 2 days, Garashi was like a teacher and a big brother who cared about and guided them, making them grow a lot. When they thought that they would never see brother Garashi again in the future, they felt a little suffocated. There's no need to make a bitter face. Garashi smiled gently. It's already a very rare fate for people from 2 different worlds to meet. We should thank fate. Seeing the atmosphere was a little dull, Yamato walked out and solemnly saluted. Garashi, senpai, thank you very much for your help. No matter what the future holds, we will always remember you. Why do I feel like they're cursing me? Garashi was secretly speechless, but he didn't care. Instead, he smiled and looked at the tools he developed into a parallel universe. Let's go. I'm going to completely seal the Ryumayaku. They walked with heavy steps to the place where the original altar was, waving their arms vigorously. Garashi, senpai, you have to remember us too. I will. Whoosh. Like the distortion of the TV pictures in his previous life, the space distorted, and then the 4 disappeared. During this process, Garashi didn't stay idle. While using the pendant of Queen Roran to close the Ryumayaku, he used a very complicated technique to place a seal on the broken altar. After the seal was completed, the restless chakra around finally calmed down. Of course, this was just on the surface. In fact, Garashi also left a back door for himself. Just like how Minato left a back door for himself in the 8 trigram seal, if a seal didn't leave a back door, would it still be called a seal? From now on, this will be my magic base. Garashi nodded with satisfaction. After plucking the fox's fur for so long, it was time to change the target. In a sense, he could now enter the complete version of Sage Mode like Hashirama. However, that was under the premise that he opened the Een seal and used the Ryumayaku chakra. It seems that I have to make some improvements to the Een seal. Garashi thought to himself. After the Een seal was opened, there was no way to stop it. It had to be stored again after it was used up. In fact, this wasn't a big problem in the past. In normal battles, he didn't need to use the Een seal to defeat the enemy, and in a situation where he needed to open the Een seal, it meant that he couldn't be stingy with the chakra. But it was different now. The Ryumayaku chakra allowed him to save the process of refining natural energy, which meant that he could use Sage Mode in normal battles. This wasn't a one-time version of Sage Mode, but the complete version of Sage Mode, which was undoubtedly a huge improvement to his normal strength. In order to achieve this, the Een seal had to be used as soon as it was activated. Chapter 231. As a power bank, it's not qualified to charge it once. You should at least charge it up 100 times. While Shushi thought to himself, he continued to think. Apart from that, I still have to improve the unsealing process of the Een seal. When the Een seal is unsealed, black lines will spread from the diamond-shaped mark on the forehead to the whole body. After using it a few times, won't everyone know that he has chakra senjutsu? At first, it can be explained by the kickback when he sealed the Ryumayaku, but other people are not fools. Seeing that he can't use up the chakra stored in the Een seal, won't they know that he left a backdoor in the Ryumayaku seal? So, he simply disguised the process of unsealing the Een seal as entering Sage Mode in seconds. If Hashirama can do it, then I, Shimizu Garashi, can't do it? It just so happens that Sage Mode also has Sage Mask. I should try to control the lines of the Een seal to move closer to this side, or directly cover the lines of the Een seal with Sage Mask. Thinking of this, Garashi shook his head slightly. Let's put the Een seal matter aside for the time being. It's time to solve the problem of Satori. The reason why he sent Asuma and the others away, in addition to giving Naruto pointers, was to obtain Satori's ability. Mind reading, this ability is really useful. Not only is it useful for fighting, but it's also useful in daily layout design. But now there is a problem, that is, how to deal with this ancient monster after sealing it. This is different from the previous seal of the Bija chakra, which is a dead thing without life. This time, it's a very dangerous living thing. According to the normal process, he should give the scroll of sealing Satori to the village after returning. But in such a short time, he can't learn the ability of mind reading. So, I have to find a way to extract Satori's ability. Or, kill Satori and divert their attention to the seal of the Box of Bliss. Garashi pondered and jumped to the ground, sealing the entire underground altar with jutsu. At this time, Sarah's figure walked over. Are you leaving too? Garashi nodded slightly. We're still in the middle of a war. We can't delay it any longer. After a moment of silence, Sarah smiled. You are the hero who saved Lulan. I believe that you will also become a hero on that battlefield. Thank you. Garashi accepted the blessing with a natural expression. By the way, have you found the box? Although Wu came alone, the Box of Bliss would not be too far away from it. When it came to serious matters, Sarah also became serious. We found it. Garashi smiled. This should be the last hidden danger. Please take me to seal it. Of course, Sala did not refuse. She led Shushi to a wooden palace. Looking at the palace, Sarah couldn't help but exclaim that Yamato Jonan's craftsmanship is really exquisite. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have imagined that this palace was built with ninjutsu. Garashi nodded in agreement. Yamato Jonan is indeed very talented in this regard. It's not difficult to build a house with wood release, but it's not easy to build a house with all the necessary facilities. The two went to the backyard, where the box of bliss was placed quietly. Yes, this is it. After confirming that there was no mistake, Garashi took out a scroll and put the box of bliss into it. Mission complete, it's time for me to leave. Well, remember to come and see me when you have time. At the same time, Woodleaf's higher-ups were having a meeting. Hiruzen, what the hell are you thinking? You actually agreed to negotiate and give up the right to ask for compensation. Danzo slammed the table and shouted angrily. It's as if we lost the war. The two advisors sitting next to him also frowned. Hiruzen, what are you thinking? Sandaime took a puff from his pipe, his expression calm. This is to end the war as soon as possible. Don't forget, we have more than one battlefield. Danzo's expression was cold. So what? If we continue to fight, the winner will be us. Sandaime sighed. You don't understand the impact of the Western Front's armistice on the village. The moment the tension in everyone's heart is relaxed, it's difficult to tighten it again. Mitokado nodded. There are indeed a lot of anti-war sentiments in the village. Danzo said indifferently. Then suppress these sentiments. The Umbu should arrest those who spread negative sentiments. There may be spies from Rock Crypsis among them. Sandaime looked at him coldly. Danzo, you've crossed the line. You're too weak, Hiruzen. Danzo retorted. Didn't the previous two wars teach you a lesson? If we don't beat them, sooner or later they'll start another war. So? Do you intend to destroy Rock Crypsis? Sandaime sighed. The Earth country is different from the Air country. If we really go that far, let alone Yunin and Kirin, even Sand Crypsis will be hostile to us. Danzo coldly snorted. Even if we don't destroy them, we'll make Rock Crypsis pay a heavy price. That's the problem. Sandaime-sama pinched his eyebrows with a headache. Anoki saw through our scruples and threatened us, saying that if we don't want to negotiate, Rock Village won't surrender even if we have to fight to the last man. Danzo snorted. You're worried, but Anoki is more worried than you. Let's see what he'll do later. Sandaime suddenly raised his head and looked at Danzo suspiciously. You're also playing those little games that Shursui made? Danzo's face stiffened. Are you kidding me? Why would this old man play with something so frivolous? Sandaime looked at him with a smile. Rock Crypsis values the unity of the village the most. Without this, the former Rock Crypsis will no longer exist. So, Rock Crypsis is willing to make concessions in some areas, but on a diplomatic level, they can't surrender. This is Anoki's bottom line. Oh, this is in line with Anoki's style. Danzo leaned back and gently tapped his finger on the table. What's their hidden condition? Sandaime said with a smile. As a condition for the peace talks, they will start a war with Yunin. Start a war with Yunin? Danzo sneered. They say it's a peace talk, but I think they want to loot a burning house. In any case, this war has lasted long enough. Sandaime said. Agree to Rock Crypsis's peace talks and end this nightmare as soon as possible. But, have you thought about how to take responsibility? Danzo narrowed his eyes. The hidden deal can't be revealed. In other words, you should be responsible for this meaningless war. Hamura frowned. Danzo, you, Sandaime raised his right hand, indicating that Hamura should stop talking. After the war, I will resign from the position of Naruto. Chapter 232. The night sky wasn't bright, and a few dark clouds covered the stars. In the mottled shadow of the trees, Garashi floated forward like a ghost and stopped outside the woodleaf barrier. Although the Uzumaki Ancestral Hall was far from the village, it was still within the range of Woodleaf, and rashly entering would be detected by the barrier. Of course, for Garashi, who was already considered a high-ranking member of the village, bypassing the barrier and entering the village without being detected was not difficult. Barrier, open. It's really troublesome to sneak back to the village. Secretly sighing, Garashi moved forward according to the route he had already planned. It didn't take long for him to come to a dilapidated ancestral hall. It's here. Garashi calmly walked into the ancestral hall. The ancestral hall was empty and gloomy, except for a wall full of ghost masks. There was nothing else. These are all Shinigami masks. Garashi looked at them a little, and then his hands began to quickly form hand seals. Spirit transformation technique. In the next moment, Garashi's spirit body floated in the air. In his spirit body's vision, almost every mask had a Shinigami floating behind it. Artificial Shinigami like the evil god? Garashi had some guesses in his heart, but now was not the time to verify it. In the spirit body's perception, Garashi picked the mask with the lowest soul strength and took it in his hand. Then, he took back his spirit body and turned around to leave. Although it was the edge of Woodleaf, it was still in the village, and it was better to change the place for the experiment. In the Land of Fire, a group of bandits on a small hill. Since most of the Woodleaf ninjas were transferred to the battlefield, the bandits in the Land of Fire had a relatively better life. Of course, this was only the situation 2 years ago. With the improvement of the war situation, their life became difficult again. At this moment, Garashi was standing on a nearby tree, observing the sacrifice below. Although the quality of the offerings is terrible, I've also sealed Wu. In this case, it shouldn't be too much of a problem to complete the spell. If it really doesn't work, I'll use quantity to make up for the difference in quality. With a few words, Garashi decided the fate of these bandits. The bandits, who did not know that they were being watched, were laughing loudly around the bonfire. Haha. Today's harvest is not bad. Those old fellows weren't honest at first. They forced us to kill a few people before they were willing to hand over the money. There's nothing we can do about it. Our lives aren't easy either. It's getting harder and harder to survive in the Fire Nation. After finishing the last job, we'll go to the Wind Nation. At this moment, a chakra wave spread out. All of the bandits' movements instantly stopped, and their pupils lost their luster. In this pitch-black night, it was very strange. Garashi calmly jumped down from the tree branch. He activated his perception barrier before taking out the scroll that sealed Wu. The seal was undone. The ice coffin, which was emitting a biting cold air, appeared on the ground, adding a hint of coldness to the cold night. Let's begin. Garashi used an illusion to control a bandit to walk over and start forming seals in front of the ice coffin. The focus of the corpse ghost seal was on the soul. Just like in the battle between the third king Yenluo and Orochimaru, after the death contract was set, it was possible to use a shadow clone as a sacrifice. Hence, although the quality of these bandits' offerings was poor, under Garashi's control, it was still possible to summon the death god with their souls. Of course, the prerequisite was that the chakra had to pay for the journey himself. However, for Garashi, lending some chakra was not a problem at all. Soon, the death god holding a chain of beads and holding a dagger in his mouth appeared behind the bandits. This is the death god? It doesn't seem very powerful. Garashi raised his eyebrows. Although he chose a mask with the lowest soul strength, the death god in front of him did not pose much of a threat to him. Garashi even suspected that if someone used the corpse ghost seal on him, the death god might just go on strike. It seems that this technique is also related to the strength of the soul. While Garashi was secretly observing, the death god he summoned finally took action. The intangible arm easily penetrated the ice coffin and even pierced into Wu's body. It forcefully pulled Wu's soul out. Although its body was still sealed, Wu's soul already reacted. Bastard! What is this? This is not Lulan. Why am I here? Clearly, its consciousness was still stuck at the moment before it was sealed. However, even if it did not know what kind of existence was pulling its soul, Wu knew that it could not be pulled over by the other party. Hence, Wu walked back with all its might. Pulling and pulling, it was like a tug-of-war competition. Perhaps because the quality of the offerings was too poor, Wu's soul had the upper hand in this tug-of-war competition. Garashi watched calmly. Then, he went down to pull Wu's side. Another 5 bandits walked over and used the corpse ghost seal at the same time. The death god's power instantly increased and pulled Wu's soul over. Then, he raised his hand and slashed. As Wu wailed unwillingly, the souls of Wu and the bandits were all sealed into the death god's body. After the seal was completed, the death god disappeared. If one did not look at the fallen bandits, it would be as if nothing had happened. I can start the next step, killing the donkey after it has outlived its usefulness. Garashi nodded in satisfaction. He summoned another tool and put the mask on the bandit's face. Corpse ghost seal, release. The death god that had just finished was summoned back. Before it could find its target, it was cut in the stomach by an unscrupulous capitalist. A few balls of soul fire flew out of the death god's stomach. 6 of them were very weak, but one of them was abnormally strong. Spiritualization, capture. In the next moment, the soul fires, which were like rootless duckweeds, were collected by Mustache. After all, this world has the Edo Tensei ninjutsu. Although I don't think anyone will use the Edo Tensei ninjutsu, for the sake of safety, even your souls will be annihilated. Garashi shattered the souls of these bandits with a cold face. Then, he turned his calm gaze to the death god who was inexplicably aggrieved. The weak death god is just right to merge with this soul. Death god, Sigma, degree. Garashi forcibly fixed the death god who was planning to escape and merged the souls of death god and Wu. This was some inspiration he got from Black Zetsu's body. Although it was not yin-yang release, it could be fused and separated like Black Zetsu and White Zetsu. After doing all this, Garashi sealed the product of the fusion into the mask. Now the death god mask is not just a summoning medium, but more of a ninja tool. Garashi played with the mask and then put it on his face. The next moment, the voices of the other bandits who were immersed in the illusion kept emerging in Garashi's ears. After confirming the function of the mask and the idea was correct, Garashi took off the mask with satisfaction. Before I learn this ability, I will temporarily use this mask instead. Chapter 233. In addition to mind reading, this mask seems to have some other functions. Garashi's fingertips gently stroked the side of the mask, feeling the simple texture of the mask while whispering. Turning around and walking to a bandit, he put his right hand on the bandit's head, and then gently pulled, like pulling a fishing line, the soul of the bandit was fished out of his body. This is part of the Shinigami's ability. Looking at the soul in his hand, Garashi nodded slightly. This is something he can't do with spirit transformation jutsu. In terms of form, this ability seems to be closer to the soul extraction of Rinnegan, but it is more delicate than Rinnegan, and the extracted soul is more complete. In addition to the most basic memory reading, it can also be used as a material for soul fusion. Speaking of which, the Shinigami I summoned for the second time seems to be a little stronger than before. It should be because it absorbed the power of the souls that were sacrificed. Not devouring, but absorbing, just like a fox that was required to pay rent regularly. Otherwise, Namikaze Minato's soul wouldn't be intact after being eaten for more than 10 years. It's called the Shinigami, but it doesn't even have the ability to devour souls, and even the results of hard work can be easily stolen by capitalists like me and Orochimaru. If this is the real Shinigami, it's too miserable. Garashi calmly analyzed. If I'm not wrong, the back door to unlock the Shiki Fujin should be deliberately left by the Shinigami, or specifically left for the Uzumaki clan. In Garashi's view, it should be that the Uzumaki clan's physique is too tempting. Even if there is a strong seal, it is difficult to dispel the enemy's greed. Therefore, some powerful Uzumaki clan developed the Shiki Fujin jutsu with themselves as the blueprint. It makes them become the Shinigami, and when they encounter a difficult enemy, they can directly use the Shiki Fujin jutsu as a warning, and every time they use the Shiki Fujin jutsu, it can make the Shinigami stronger. And the use of this back door is to release the souls of the people who use this technique. Because of this technique doesn't use the bad method of devouring and fusing souls. Just the number of souls to create a Grim Reaper can make Kyubi unable to resist. That is to say, fusing souls and obtaining higher quality souls may become a new way to become stronger, or even using these souls as materials to create a Hogyoku that belongs to this world. However, after careful consideration, Garashi had no choice but to temporarily give up this tempting idea. The quality of an average person's soul was too weak. If it was used as a fusion material, it would be like a tall building made of inferior cement. Any external force could cause it to collapse. However, it was not easy to steal the souls of powerful beings. Killing one or two of them secretly was not a big deal. But to kill so many powerful beings on such a large scale? Did the six Tao of the Pure Land really think that they were blind? The six paths of Samsara, who was sitting in the Pure Land, should be the most sensitive to the fate of these souls. Just from the fact that he could easily summon the souls of the past shadows, it was clear that he had great control over the Pure Land. If you steal his things, be careful of the six paths, Chibaku Tensei's warning. It's really troublesome. The gap between ninja and Otsutsuki is too big. Even if I stand at the top of the ninja world, I'm still 2 or 3 levels away from the six paths sage, not to mention that I'm far from the top of the ninja world. Garashi sighed helplessly. If he wanted to break the shackles of life, all the ways to become stronger must be considered. Even if he closed Madara's coffin tightly and didn't let him come out to dance, the Otsutsuki trio will be a threat that can't be ignored in a few decades. Garashi sighed, there is not much time left for him. In this case, he can't easily give up any idea. So, first of all, I have to find someone to take the blame for me. Speaking of the blame, Garashi subconsciously thought of the respected elder Danzo. But he quickly shook his head. This blame is too big, Danzo can't take it. Garashi thought to himself. The collection of souls can't be done by me, and it can't even be done in this world. Black Zetsu in the parallel world may be a good choice. But it's not easy to deceive Black Zetsu. Taking advantage of the information asymmetry is one way, but the information he has now is not enough. Throwing out the bait rashly may alert the enemy. After all, his understanding of Black Zetsu is limited to the memory of his previous life. If he wants to scheme against Black Zetsu, he needs to know more about him. Maybe, I can repeatedly test in this world, and then use the information I get to win the trust of Black Zetsu in the other world. Thinking of this, Garashi's mouth raised slightly. I seem to know how to play the next game with him. The next day, early morning. Stepping on dewdrops, Shushi returned to the Western Front camp. Then he received the news of a truce between the two sides. In this regard, the opinions of the people in the camp are not uniform. Their attitudes are roughly divided into 2 factions. The war-weary faction thinks that ending the war early is not a bad thing. The Rock Crypsis is not a pushover, and pushing them too hard will make them desperate. The pro-war faction can't accept it. Most of them lost their friends and family in the war, and hatred makes them unwilling to stop. In just a day or two, the camp has already broken out in double digits. Therefore, when Garashi returned to the camp, a large group of people surrounded him. Garashi-sama, please mention it to Naruto-sama. How can we give up at the last minute? Yes, we have been holding on for 3 years. Garashi-sama, don't listen to their nonsense, the war has brought enough pain. Garashi also has a headache. This kind of thing can't be explained clearly. He is not Gaara, how can a speech make them let go of their hatred? However, I can only bite the bullet. Garashi felt helpless, but his expression was solemn. Everyone, listen to me for a moment. Hearing Garashi's words, the noise around him suddenly quieted down. Everyone looked at Garashi with anticipation. Just as you said, if this war continues, we will win. And as the battlefield commander, I can easily receive flowers and applause. From the perspective of my interests, I should support the war, but I don't want to do this, because I don't want to see you at a funeral next time. There is no way to eliminate the hatred that has already arisen, but the pain that spreads can be stopped. If your friends and family die, you will be sad, but if you die, those who care about you will also be sad, and the pain will continue to spread. With that, Garashi changed the topic. However, I am not persuading you to let go of your hatred. There are many ways to take revenge on the rock Crypsis, and there is no need to use this way to hurt yourself and the people around you. For example, you can organize people to snatch rock Crypsis's missions after the war, so that the rock Crypsis has no missions to accept, or you can write books like Jiraiya, Sama, spreading the evil and cruelty of rock Crypsis through words. Or you can even work hard to make money to set up a large chamber of commerce to impose economic sanctions on the rock Crypsis. Chapter 234. Everyone was stunned, as if the door to a new world had been opened. Wonderful. When I go back, I'll write a book called The Story of Inoki and the Yanbi Jinchuriki. Wait, Garashi, Sama wants us to spread the evil of rock Crypsis. Isn't this evil? It seems to make sense. Then I'll go back and buy a few books by Jiraiya, Sama to study. Although Shushi's words did not dispel everyone's hatred, they calmed down from their frenzied state. Everyone is a net, and pain will spread along the veins of the net. If they die, those who care about them will also be sad and painful. After having this thought, it was difficult for them to make the same desperate decision. Especially after hearing Shushi's last words, their hatred was successfully led astray. As expected of Garashi, Sama, his vision is much more far-sighted than us. We were too impulsive before, and we didn't understand Naruto, Sama's painstaking efforts. Garashi, Sama is worthy of being the one who comprehended the will of fire. What he said is reasonable. Garashi didn't care about killing, and after stopping the commotion, he retreated. As for whether the future will develop in a strange direction, it's none of his business. 2 days later, Garashi returned to Woodleaf, which he hadn't seen for a long time. Because of the fear of rock Crypsis's treachery, the Western Front didn't withdraw completely. After discussion, it was decided to leave Shimura in the camp, and Garashi returned to the village to rest for a while before setting off for the Eastern Front. After returning to the village, Garashi first reported to Sandaime Sama about Satori. Garashi, Sama. Please help me pass the message. Yes. Please wait a moment. When he came back again, the treatment was completely different. Even the guards in front of Naruto's building looked at him with admiration. The name Shimizu Garashi has been deeply rooted in people's hearts. Soon, Garashi was invited into the Naruto building. As soon as he entered, Sandaime looked at him and smiled. Garashi, the commotion at the Western Front is all thanks to you. Garashi blushed and said, I was worried that Lord Naruto would blame me for leading them astray. Sandaime smiled and waved his hand. Hatred has to be channeled. You've done well. Let's hope they don't become too strange. Garashi lampooned inwardly before he went straight to the point. Lord Naruto, after I sealed the monster in ice for a few days, I used spiritualization to destroy its soul while it was weak. However, I'll need your instructions on what to do with the box of bliss. With that, Garashi took out 2 scrolls and summoned the box of bliss and the ice coffin. Even though the office was spacious, the 2 of them were squeezed into a corner. But Sandaime didn't care. He just looked at the ice coffin in surprise. This monster is really dead. He didn't suspect anything. He just sighed and said, this monster is dead. It can be considered as an explanation for the ninjas it killed. As for the box of bliss, this kind of dangerous existence should be sealed forever. Yes, I understand. Garashi sealed the 2 scrolls and put them on the table. Lord Naruto, do you have anything else to tell me? You must be tired. Go back and rest early. By the way, Asuma seems to be waiting for you to come back. After reporting to Satori, Garashi walked a few steps out of the Naruto building. He saw Asuma and the others waiting in front of him with heavy expressions. What's the matter with you guys? Why do you all have such expressions? Asuma sighed. Bordered soil was sacrificed on the battlefield in Yunnan. Shushi's expression turned serious. What happened? Asma explained. On the battlefield in Yunnan, bordered soil was ambushed by the enemy. Kakashi's left eye was scratched. In order to protect Kakashi, bordered soil's heart was pierced by the enemy. After leaving his eye to Kakashi, he died. Hearing Asma's words, Garashi glanced at the crowd and found Kakashi and Rin with sad expressions. Especially Kakashi's scarlet left eye, it was particularly eye-catching. Seeing this scene, Garashi was puzzled. Was this a coincidence or a design? The Battle of Canopy Bridge didn't happen, and the Minato squad has been active on the battlefield in Yunnan. In this case, why did bordered soil's fate follow the original trajectory? If it was just a simple death, Garashi wouldn't be surprised. After all, bordered soil's strength was not very strong, and it was normal to be killed in a large-scale war. But this unusually similar trajectory made him a little uncertain. Unlike the original Kakashi, the Kakashi in this space-time was constantly growing under his pressure. Compared to the original Kakashi, his strength was definitely much stronger. Even if he played Chidori, it was unlikely that he would be pierced in the eye, unless this was a deliberate calculation by Black. Or, the incident in the original trajectory was not an accident. The so-called Battle of Canopy Bridge was a carefully designed script by Black Zetsu. The purpose was to send bordered soil, who was half destroyed, to Madara. It was normal to think like this. How could there be so many accidents in the world, and it just happened to send bordered soil, a genius with hidden attributes, to Madara's eyes? But there was one more thing. How could Black Zetsu send someone who died on the battlefield in Yunnan quietly to Madara's eyes without being suspected? Garashi, hearing Asma's shout, Garashi woke up from his contemplation. Seeing Garashi so silent, Asma patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't be too sad, bordered soil is a person who likes to laugh. He certainly doesn't want to see us sad." Kurenai said, "After we received the news, we wanted to wait for you to come back, Garashi, and we all went to bordered soil's house to express our condolences. Only his grandmother is in bordered soil's house." Garashi nodded. "You're right, we should really visit the old people." Along the way, the atmosphere was very dull. It was very common to die in war, but because of Garashi, it was the first time they saw a close friend sacrificed. Thinking of this, the team couldn't help but look at Garashi with grateful and admiring eyes. If it weren't for Garashi, some of them might have become people who were remembered. In this silent atmosphere, Garashi looked at Kakashi and asked, "Did you bring back the body of bordered soil?" Hearing Garashi's question, Kakashi bowed his head in pain. "Because of the urgency of time, Rin and I buried bordered soil and left. When we found Minato-sensei and rushed back, the place had already been dug up. Damn it. It must be Yunnan's bastards who couldn't catch us, so they took bordered soil's body to vent their anger." Garashi's eyes flashed. Hearing this, he could roughly determine that this was Black Zetsu's doing. Although it's very surprising, from the overall situation, it's also a historical inevitability. There are only so many ninjas in the whole ninja world, and there are very few people who can meet the requirements of Black Zetsu. Under Black Zetsu's selection, fate finally chose bordered soil. Garashi secretly thought about the pros and cons of this change. From a cold-blooded point of view, bordered soil's experience is actually not a bad thing. After Black Zetsu's transformation, he can really tap his own potential. For Garashi, as long as he can keep Rin alive, he can easily pull bordered soil out of hell when necessary, and then receive Madara's legacy through bordered soil. Therefore, the key to this problem is to keep Rin alive, and at the same time, to ensure that this secret is not discovered by Black Zetsu. Otherwise, every time he saves Rin, Black Zetsu will act, and bordered soil will be stimulated to directly open Rin again. Going back to the problem itself, this is exactly the most difficult part of the whole process. With his strength, he has to be very careful after being targeted by Black Zetsu, and if the target is Rin, the possibility of escaping Black Zetsu's calculation is infinitely close to zero. After all, one is in the light, and the other is in the dark. Thinking of this, Garashi found the answer he wanted. One is in the light, and the other is in the dark. Then let Rin go from the light to the dark. Chapter 235. Everyone arrived at the Uchiha clan's residence. The Uchiha clan has always had few outsiders entering, and seeing so many people, the guards subconsciously wanted to stop them. Hey, you are here too. Fortunately, a sharp-eyed Uchiha rushed in front of him. Commander. Garashi was startled. Only the ninjas who retired from the Western Front would call him that. Looking at the person who came, Garashi smiled and said, "Are you Kurikaze?" The Uchiha who greeted him obviously didn't expect Garashi to remember his name, and said with excitement, "That's me. Patriarch mentioned you a few days ago. He will be very happy to know that you are here. Why don't I inform him now?" Garashi shook his head slightly. "No need to disturb us. We just want to visit the Bordered Soil clan." Kurikaze was a little disappointed, but he didn't continue to persuade. "Then I won't disturb you." When everyone was far away, the clansman who had stopped them before asked in surprise, "Is he the hero who commanded the Western Front and forced the Tsuchikage to stay in the village by himself, Shimizu Shushi?" Kurikaze's eyes were full of admiration. "Garashi-sama is not only strong, but also has a good personality. Patriarch said that he is the one who can become Naruto." The Uchiha who stopped them was a little dissatisfied. "Don't say that he is not Naruto. Even if he is Naruto, you shouldn't be so humble. Where is your dignity as an Uchiha? If you were also on the battlefield, you wouldn't say such stupid things. Garashi-sama is the great benefactor who saved many of our clansmen." "Huh? What do you mean?" Kurikaze sighed. "Because of unreasonable battle arrangements, many of our clansmen died in the early war, until Garashi-sama came to power. How dare they? Wake up, this is no longer the Warring States period." For everyone who came to the Bordered Soil clan for the first time, it wasn't difficult to find the Uchiha's house. After walking through several streets, they came to an ordinary house. "Dong! Dong! Is anyone home?" "He's here." When they opened the door, Grandma Bordered Soil was surprised. "You are Bordered Soil's friends?" Garashi nodded. "Grandma, you have a good memory." "Hee hee, how is my memory good? It's just that I don't know many people." As she spoke, Grandma Bordered Soil patted herself. "Look at my silly brain. How could I let the guests stand at the door? Everyone, come in." Everyone bowed and said, "Sorry for disturbing you." The room wasn't big, but the layout and decorations gave people a warm feeling. After Grandma Bordered Soil put the tea and snacks on the table, she knelt down and said, "Sorry for the lack of hospitality." No, you're too polite." After exchanging a few pleasantries, Grandma Bordered Soil asked, "Excuse me, why are you here today? Did that child Bordered Soil get into trouble?" Everyone looked at each other and couldn't bear to tell the truth. In the end, Garashi said apologetically, "Sorry, Bordered Soil was unfortunately killed by the enemy on the battlefield to protect his companions." Hearing this, Grandma Bordered Soil's hands trembled slightly as she held the tea. She immediately sighed softly. "So that's how it is." Kakashi's head hit the floor and he said in a hoarse voice, "I'm sorry, Bordered Soil was protecting me. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Don't be like this. Bordered Soil is not special. So many people died in the war. It's not surprising that it was Bordered Soil's turn." Seeing her like this, everyone was even more worried. "Grandma, don't worry, I won't be sad. On the contrary, I'm proud of Bordered Soil." Grandma Bordered Soil smiled. To be able to die to protect his companions, such a Bordered Soil is already a hero in my heart. Everyone nodded heavily. Bordered Soil is a hero. Grandma Bordered Soil touched Kakashi's head. "Child, you don't have to blame yourself too much. Since Bordered Soil saved you, then carry his dream on your shoulders." Kakashi clenched his hands, his nails piercing into his flesh. "I understand. I will definitely become Naruto and tell everyone that he made me Naruto." At the same time, in Fugaku's home, Fugaku was happily playing with his son. "Itachi, what's 1 + 1? Itachi's young face was full of helplessness. 2. My son is so smart. Then 2 plus 2, dong. Dong. Hearing the knock outside, Fugaku told Itachi to play by himself and got up to open the door. Liangfeng, why are you here? Lord Patriarch, I have something to report to you. Come in first. Yes, then I'll be disturbing you. Returning to the living room, Fugaku saw that Itachi was no longer in the room. Although he was very young, Itachi was indeed a worry-free child. The two knelt down, and after a little greeting, they got to the point. Lord Patriarch, Garashi-sama and his friend just came. Fugaku was excited. Garashi-sama, why did he come? They went to Bordered Soil's house, Liangfeng said and added, Bordered Soil's name was on the previous casualty list. Is that so? I see. Fugaku nodded slightly. Liangfeng hesitated and asked, should we express our gratitude? Fugaku thought for a moment and said, send compensation to the families of the fallen ninjas, especially those who have only the elderly in their families and have difficulties in life. Liangfeng suddenly understood. I understand. I'll go and prepare. Thank you. When Liangfeng left, Fugaku muttered, Namikaze Minato, Shimizu Garashi. At this moment, Itachi's curious voice came from beside him. Father, is that Garashi-sama a very powerful ninja? Why did you deliberately change for him? Yes, he is. Fugaku's body trembled, and he looked at the cat lamp beside him in disbelief. Itachi, what are you doing? Oh. I forgot to remove the transformation jutsu. Itachi whispered, and in the next moment, he changed back. Fugaku's eyes widened. How did you learn the transformation jutsu? No, who taught you how to refine chakra? Generally, civilian ninjas enter school at the age of 5. Big families like theirs may enter school earlier, but not by much. Itachi is now less than 4 years old. Itachi tilted his head. I learned chakra by reading books at home. As for the transformation jutsu, I learned it by watching you seal. When did I use the transformation jutsu at home? Fugaku subconsciously wanted to deny it, and then his face turned red. He seemed to have played some fun at home. How did Itachi see it? Wait. Fugaku gathered his thoughts and looked at Itachi in shock. You learned it just by watching me seal? Itachi asked puzzledly, what's wrong? It's amazing. You obviously haven't opened your eyes, but you can do things that most of the people who have opened their eyes can't do. Fugaku was shocked. Not to mention how rare it was to learn the transformation jutsu just by watching him seal, it was amazing enough to see and remember his seal movements. After all, this wasn't the school's teaching, where the movements were deliberately slowed down. He was doing it at his own level. Thinking of this, Fugaku looked at Itachi with strange eyes. My son is a genius? Even a super genius who may be comparable to Garashi-sama? Chapter 236. After recovering from his shock, Fugaku couldn't help but ask, Itachi, what ninjutsu do you know now? Itachi shook his head, I've only seen you use the transformation jutsu. Fugaku sighed in relief, luckily he didn't play any other games at home. Clearing his throat, Fugaku said seriously, Itachi, remember my movements and see if you can learn this jutsu. Itachi nodded, I'll do my best. Fugaku didn't deliberately slow down his movements, he still used his jonin speed to form the seals. The next moment, a clone appeared beside him. Fugaku turned around, Itachi, learn. Before he could finish, he saw Itachi form a few more seals, and a clone with a high degree of completion appeared. I learned it. Fugaku, Sigma, degree. When Mikoto returned home, she saw her husband sitting in a corner with a dull expression. Fugaku, what's wrong? Mikoto, do you think I'm a mediocre person with ordinary talent? Although she didn't understand what happened to Fugaku, Mikoto still smiled, how could that be? You've been a genius in everyone's eyes ever since you were a student. After a pause, Mikoto added, of course, the premise is that you can't be compared to a monster like Garashi-sama. I'm not looking for trouble. Fugaku laughed, then sighed, it's because of Itachi. Today I discovered that our son might be an unimaginable genius. Mikoto smiled, of course our son is a genius. Seeing that Mikoto didn't take his words to heart, Fugaku said seriously, he's not a genius in the ordinary sense. Let's put it this way, Itachi was able to learn Hiroshi's fireball jutsu in one glance. Itachi is really... Mikoto suddenly reacted, you taught him how to refine chakra. Fugaku shook his head, then told her everything he saw today. Mikoto frowned, not happy but worried, having such an outstanding talent at Itachi's age, it's not a good thing. As a mother, she actually hoped that her child would be more ordinary. Being a genius in the eyes of ordinary people is enough. Fugaku said seriously, you and I think the same. Without a strong heart, outstanding talent will only harm him. Mikoto crossed her arms in front of her chest. Fugaku, what do you think? After pondering for a moment, Fugaku said, I want to bring him to the battlefield. Mikoto was shocked. What? Don't worry, the Western Front has stopped fighting. Except for a small number of people who can't see the situation clearly, no one wants to start a war. Under such circumstances, at most, some small-scale conflicts would break out. Mikoto's expression eased a little, but she was still worried. Isn't it too early for Itachi to enter the battlefield? Fugaku shook his head gently. During the war, there are many children who went to the battlefield at the age of 6 or 7. Itachi is the man who will carry the Uchiha clan on his back in the future, so growing up early is not a bad thing for him. Seeing that Mikoto was still worried, Fugaku sighed. Then let's wait until Itachi's 4th birthday, then we can go to the battlefield together. In the courtyard, Itachi tilted his head and asked, War? What's that? Bordered soil house. After talking about bordered soil, everyone didn't stay idle. Some of them chatted with bordered soil's grandmother, and some of them cleaned the room. After dinner, everyone said their goodbyes. Thank you for your hospitality, we should also go. Be careful on the road, and be sure to come again when you have time. Watching everyone leave, Bordered Soil's grandmother sighed softly. Bordered Soil, you've made a very good friend. Everyone who left was also very emotional. Bordered Soil's grandmother is really cheerful and optimistic. I'm beginning to understand why Bordered Soil can be so optimistic. Let's visit the grandmother a few times a month. I think it's okay. Now that the Western Front has stopped fighting, Yunin and Kirin won't be able to hold on much longer. Right, Garashi, what do you think? Everyone was a little curious. After coming out of Bordered Soil's house, Garashi had a thoughtful look. Of course. Garashi first expressed his opinion, then immediately frowned and looked at Kakashi. Have you met any strange people recently? After coming out of Bordered Soil's house, Kakashi also felt lost. After being asked several times, he responded, strange people, no. Wait, there is one, maybe you know him. Guy was puzzled. Someone we know? Then why is he strange? Mizuki said coldly, is he a defector? If he's a defector, it's normal to be called a strange person. Kakashi glanced at him, nodded, and said, he's a senior from the same generation as San-nin, Bei-lu-hu. Bei-lu-hu? Asma said, he seems to have defected at the beginning of the war, but the reason for his defection was not announced. Many people said that he defected because he was afraid of the war. Kurenai was puzzled. Why would such a person suddenly find Kakashi? It's a bit strange. Haha. Could it be that the coward wants to go back to the village because the war is almost over? Guy laughed loudly. Coward? His courage is not small. Garashi shook his head slightly, and his right index finger lightly touched Kakashi's forehead, and then a bright red circular mark appeared where he touched. Seeing this unforeseen event, everyone was stunned. What is this? Kakashi touched his forehead, is there something here? It's a puppet jutsu, after activating it, it can make the person affected by this jutsu be controlled like a puppet. Garashi's face was solemn. If I'm not wrong, it should be left by Bei Lu Hu. Rin said nervously, why is it like this? Kakashi has no relationship with him. Garashi pondered for a moment, then looked at Kakashi and asked, when did you meet him? Kakashi recalled, a few days ago, when this happened, I retired from the battlefield to recuperate. Rin was dissatisfied, why didn't you tell me this kind of thing? Kakashi shook his head slightly, I thought it was a coincidence. Garashi guessed, it seems that it may be because of the Sharingan. Kakashi murmured, Sharingan? Rin asked puzzledly, but why Kakashi? The Uchiha clan obviously has more Sharingan, right? Unlike the Hyuga clan's Byakugan, the Uchiha clan's Sharingan has a strong rejection. Some people have tried to steal the power of the Sharingan, but all of them failed without exception. Garashi looked at Kakashi and said meaningfully, although your Sharingan seems to have a defect that can't be actively closed, compared with other cases, it can be said to be a perfect fit. This is the first time that a Sharingan has appeared in an outsider's body. Asuma looked at Kakashi suspiciously, is there an Uchiha clan member in your immediate family? Kakashi said concisely, I have read the family tree, and there is no such person. I heard from Fugaka-senpai that the Sharingan is an eye that reflects the soul. If the Sharingan is taken by the enemy on the battlefield, it will contain strong hatred and make the transplanted person lose control. Garashi sighed faintly, the reason why you are not affected too much is mostly because bordered soil's strong desire to help you affected his Sharingan. Kakashi's body trembled, he gently pressed his left eye and said to himself, bordered soil, is this the gift you gave me? You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.